What's going on, Miners fans? Welcome back to Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube, and welcome back to Mulcahy Stadium, where today your Mat-Su Miners will rematch with the Anchorage Bucs here in ABL action. Dylan Simmons, Charlie Phillips joining you, and we cannot wait for this matchup of two of the ABL's best here this evening.
We're down here for the third straight day in Anchorage, but unlike yesterday, we're actually going to get to play baseball today. We made the drive all the way down here with the team yesterday, only to find out right as we got to the parking lot that the game was getting rained out. So there is rain in the forecast today, but we're praying that holds off until a decent way through the game, if at all. And based on what it looks like right now, that is going to be what happens, so we're excited for some baseball action.
We are ready. We are excited for some baseball action, like you mentioned, and hoping that rain stays away. Well, going back to our last game, Mat-Su was able to defeat the Anchorage Bucs for the first time this season by a score of 1-0. If you missed that game or are interested in checking back to see what happened, take a look at today's highlight reel. We are back in action with your Mat-Su Miners as they look to get their first win of the season against the Anchorage Bucs right here at Mulcahy Stadium. How's it going, everyone? Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you this evening in Anchorage, Alaska, and the Miners are on the prowl once again after a 3-day break from ABL action. In one of Mat-Su's latest home games, 1-1 count. This is a fly ball into left center that's going to sit down for a base hit. So Chase Wilcox on with a single. Here goes Kerr to third. He's going to slide in time, and Mat-Su has runners in the corners. Wilcox with the single, and Mat-Su has two aboard now. On Monday last week, this is a bouncing ball right back to the mound. Here's a throw to home. That's going to be one out. So Kerr's not going to score, but the bases will still be loaded for Mat-Su. Perez on to first on a fielder's choice. Keeping an eye on second. Here's the throw. This is a bouncing ball. Run's going to score. There's one out. Throw to first will not happen. And Mat-Su has taken the early lead as Chase Wilcox comes in. Don Patrizzi with the RBI and Mat-Su with the early advantage.
And that was all about the speed of Don Patrizzi right there. The Mat-Su Miners showing their effort early by legging out those base hits. First, it was Christian Perez making it to first to make sure that double play wouldn't happen off of his weak grounder. He reached on a fielder's choice. Then it was Patrizzi, pretty much the exact same position in the team midway through the season.
So here we go, payoff pitch time in at-bat number 20 for Cochran. This is a fly ball into right center field for a base hit. Ryan Cochran is going to go all the way towards second base as the ball goes all the way towards the wall. He's going to stop at second with a stand-up double. A leadoff double for Mat-Su in the top half of the second inning, and hit number 3 on the year for Ryan Cochran. And Hostetler goes back to that fastball. The 1-2. He does, and he got him. Jack Hostetler with an inning-ending strikeout. That is K number 29 on the year, and he ties Halverson for the strikeout lead in the ABL, and we go back and forth once again here in Anchorage. Mat-Su still with the 1-0 lead. It's to go. The 0-2, and there's another strikeout. Jack Hostetler with number 4 in this game, and the ABL strikeout king is getting crowned once again. I got a chance at his 6th strikeout right here. We saw what he was able to do with the fastball against Davis, and I'd say he's eyeing that once again right here.
2-2, he got him. Swung right through it, did Hunsaker. So batters 8 and 9 for the Bucs. They combined 0-4 with 4 Ks. 6 overall for the Beaver.
33 for number 33 in terms of strikeouts on the season. Guessing, don't try to let him get his confidence back if at all possible.
On the ground to short, this could be 2, flips on for 1, and indeed a double play, a back-breaking turn of events. Riker Scow, the one thing that could have ended the inning, and that is indeed what has come to pass.
The Ryan and Ryan show in the bottom half of the 8th inning, but who's going to get to change the channel? The 2-2. This is a chopper foul to the right of the first base bag, and Nick Bisaccia going to come out of the dugout and go get that baseball for the Miners. Count will stay the same.
Is the Ryan and Ryan show a show?
I don't think so, but I could be wrong.
Just made that
It's
up.
a show. Yeah, it's a show now.
Okay.
Prime time slot, man.
You could have told me it was real, and I would have believed you. I don't watch TV.
2-2 count. Swing and a miss. And Ryan Harrahill gets the Ryan and Ryan show to go in his favor. 3 strikeouts in the bottom half of the 8th inning. Getting his composure back. Facing a 2-1. Trying to dial it up one more time. This time he's not going to go quickly. This is a comebacker right to the mound. Kennan, underhand toss to end the game. And the Mat-Su Miners finally defeat the Anchorage Bucs, and they do it at Mulcahy Stadium by a score of 1-0. They get back to 500, and they get back in the win column after a 4-game losing streak behind the back of a phenomenal performance by the Mat-Su pitching staff. Jack Hostetler, Ben Dete, Ryan Harrihill, and finally, Drew Kennan. All right, well, it feels great to finally have a win in the column against the Anchorage Bucs. Mat-Su feeling a lot better after that win and hoping that translates throughout the rest of the season, but no understating how big of a win that was, Charlie.
Yeah, the Bucs are a powerhouse in the ABL, the measuring stick against which every other team needs to be measured, and Mat-Su is no exception. They finally got their first win, as you said, and it happened on the road, which has been a struggle for the Miners to get wins so far this season away from Herman Brothers Field, but they did it against the Bucs. They had been 0 for 4 going into that game. That says yesterday, that should be 2 days ago now, but last game they finally got it, and it was on the back of the pitching, that 1-0 score, as you saw in those highlights. Hostetler, Dete, Harrihill, Kennan, they were all brilliant. 10 strikeouts between the 4 of them, just 4 hits, and that moves the Mat-Su Miners up to 4.5 games behind the Anchorage Bucs, and they have 5 games left to play against each other. So while unlikely, it is still technically possible that they could win that series and vault themselves back up into contention for the 1 seed in the ABL, or at the very least back into the heart of that 2 seed race with the Peninsula Oilers.
Hey, you never know when it comes to the ABL standings, opportunity is knocking for the Mat-Su Miners in many ways, as you mentioned. And before this game, I got an opportunity to speak with pitching coach Steve Hecker. The Mat-Su pitching staff has obviously been excellent as of late, and I wanted to see what makes them so good. Hear from him yourself. What's going on, Miners fans? Dylan Simmons here, and today for our pregame interview, we are delighted to be joined by pitching coach Steve Hecker. Coach Heck, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
All right, we're just going to ask you a few quick questions. So first off, great performance last night by the Mat-Su pitching staff in that 1-0 win over the Bucs. What was clicking for them?
I guess it's more of a question of what wasn't clicking
for them, yeah.
We had Jack Hostetler started. He threw incredibly, landing all of his off speeds for strikes, and everybody across the board landing their off speeds for strikes and setting up hitters and establishing in early. Was a key late in the game also for everybody. Then we went to Ben Dete, did awesome, and then Ryan Harrihill, and then we closed out with
Drew
Kennan.
Yes. Yeah, he did a phenomenal job, as did the entire pitching staff. And you've seen a lot of good pitching staffs over the years, but in your mind, how good is this one in relation to the all-time Miners pitching?
Oh, all time?
Yeah.
Holy cow! I was just thinking about, because I just texted Brandon Downer. He got drafted from the Miners from last year's team.
Yeah.
So we were pretty good. We led major statistical categories throughout the league. But in comparison, pound for pound, I would say this staff is better. They carry us deeper into games, and then we can close out. We've got bridge guys and short relief guys. I mean, we've got really a great staff that we can rely to. In any situation, we've got a guy for that.
I like that. And to me, when it comes to consistency, it's hard to beat this pitching staff. What in your mind is the key factor to establishing that consistency?
It goes back to daily work. Guys are coming in every single day and they're working their butt off. I mean, over my shoulder here, we've got guys getting ready for throwing a pregame bullpen before we even leave for get on the road. So, and they constantly ask each other questions. That's the key. One of the biggest takeaways from my career throughout every level was I was always very interested in what other guys were doing, what works for them, what's successful. Why do you do this in this situation? And they're just like that. And like every single one of them is like that.
Yes.
They're very interested in each other's career and helping each other along. So that has really been the most consistent factor. It's like they are just grabbing from every information they can find it from.
Very involved with each other and always there to pick themselves up and dust themselves off no matter what happens. And last question I got for you is, you've got a pretty good golf swing. Remember when we were down in Kenai, I saw you with that golf club. Tell me a little bit about what makes that golf swing as good as it is.
I just think I spent a lot of time in the weight room.
Yeah, weight room?
But it was a humbling moment because I hit one that went, it was a good shot out into the water. And then we had Rocco Bernardina grabs the club and destroys one. It probably went about 200 yards farther than mine, so it was a very humbling moment, but it was fun nonetheless.
It was an iconic moment in the 2024 Matsu Miners, in my opinion. Coach, thank you for joining us, and good luck to you and your staff tonight.
Thank you so much.
Back to you. All right, great to hear from pitching coach Steve Hecker, all that he had to say, and you can tell that he believes a lot in the staff and their ability, Charlie.
Well, how can he not? This staff has been the class of the ABL so far this season. Even with the occasional blow-up game, they allow 12, 11, 10 runs once in a while, but the amount of 1-0 wins, they've had 2 1-0 wins. They've also lost a game 1-0. The vast majority of their games, they hold their opponents to under 3 earned runs. That staff ERA still well south of 3. I mean, what's not to love?
There is absolutely nothing not to love when it comes to this Matsu Miners pitching staff, and we hope they can have another great performance today. But for now, it's time to take a look at your Matsu Miners starting lineup for tonight.
Yep, starting with those road Miners. Drake Kerr, the leadoff man. We're so happy to have him back in the lineup. Out in center field, Chase Wilcox, the first baseman. He's the new leader in batting average on the Miners as of last game. Kyle McCausland, the right fielder. Christian Perez, DH. Don Patrizzi moves over to third with Brandon Duran behind the dish. Ryan Cochran, who had a big hit in that last game, out in shortstop. Riker Scow in left. Ryan Richard, the second baseman, and Tucker Timmerman out of Nebraska. Just one of the countless aces the Miners staff has in the pitching rotation to take the bump, against the Bucs.
In terms of qualified pitchers, Timmerman with the top ERA on the team at the moment. Meanwhile, for the Anchorage Bucs, leading off will be the shortstop Will Burns. At DH is Cole Carlone, the two-way threat. Andrew Lamps playing right field. Ryan Callahan in left field. Tommy Eisenstadt back at first base. Peyton Knowles at second base. Brody Briggs the catcher. Josh Hankins the third baseman. Zane Kelly in center field. And Garvey Rumery is going to be the pitcher tonight for the Bucs, the first time he has met the Matsu Miners here in the 2024 season. All right, folks, here we go. Matsu Miners, Anchorage Bucs. Another game here at Mulcahy Stadium. It's going to be a good one. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
It's a wet and wild Wednesday here in the crossroads of the world, Anchorage, Alaska, Mulcahy Stadium, home of the Anchorage Bucs and the visiting team, your Matsu Miners, on to challenge them for the second straight game in their quest for 2 straight wins against the ABL's top squad. With Dylan Simmons, I'm Charlie Fellows, thrilled to bring you this ABL action here today, and the rain may be coming down outside, but we press on.
We do press on, and we are excited to see what happens in tonight's game. Two teams that are very familiar with each other as of late. Obviously, like you mentioned, they just played on Monday. Matsu getting the better of the Bucs by a score of 1-0, but it's a new day, and that means a new matchup and potentially a new result. Matsu hoping, though, it's more in their favor.
Absolutely true. The Miners came all the way down here to Mulcahy Stadium last night to take on the Glacier Pilots, but had to turn around because the field was too wet. Today, the rain started coming down about half an hour ago, but the field is fit to play on, and play on we will. The Miners have a lineup of Drake Kerr, Chase Wilcox, Kyle McCausland, Christian Perez, Don Patrizzi, Brandon Duran, Ryan Cochran, Riker Scow, and Ryan Richard up against Garvey Rumery, a new opponent for them.
Yeah, Garvey Rumery, a southpaw out of Ray, California, a freshman, plays for San Diego State. He is a teammate of Nico Tomasello. He had a season-high 4 innings pitched versus UC San Diego back on March 5th for the Aztecs. He's made 5 appearances on the year, has 3 starts, a 2-0 record, 18 1/3 innings pitched, 8 hits, 1 earned run given up, and a 0.49 earned run average. But This is his first time taking on the Miners in the 2024 season.
That's just 2 ticks behind the team-leading ERA of Zan Rose, who has a 0.45 mark. If that qualified for the ERA title, it would be best in the ABL, and Rummery right behind him. The defense around him, Tommy Eisenstadt at first, Peyton Knowles, the second baseman, Will Burns at short, Josh Hankins at third. The outfield from left to right, Ryan Callahan, Zane Kelly, Andrew Lamb, and Brody Briggs doing the catching, as Drake Kerr out of Texas A&M Corpus Christi, the everyday leadoff man, will lead off this game as we're set to get underway in rainy Mulcahy Stadium.
Remember, back on Monday against the Bucs, he was able to lead off with a walk against them. Be great if he had similar success here tonight.
First pitch from Rummery is outside, and we are underway. The rain was coming down considerably harder just a few minutes ago. It looks to have slowed down considerably even in the few minutes since this broadcast began, but it's definitely still a steady drizzle. 1-0 comes in from Rummery and misses again.
Yeah, a little high on back-to-back pitches. Drake Kerr doing a good job of recognizing that. Remember, Kerr is no stranger when it comes to forcing walks either. Whatever he can do to get on base would be huge early on.
And that is something he excels at. That's a high strike to bring the count to 2-1. Drake Kerr batting .261, just .001 average points behind Chase Wilcox for the lead on the team. A .369 on base percentage, 9 runs batted in, and he swings and misses there, 2-2. He has both of the, or actually 2 out of the 3 now triples that have been hit by the Miners so far this season. But he still doesn't have a double. Still looking for that. We are confident he'll get it.
Yeah, we know he's very capable of it. Maybe right here.
2-2. Instead, that'll miss high. The first count of the game goes fully. Remember, this is what Kerr did back on Monday against the Bucs, bringing Wyatt Halverson, forcing him to throw a lot of pitches to lead off. That ended up being the start of a rough outing for him. Swing and a miss. This time, though, he goes down on strikes. Garvey Rummery starts with a K and 1 away in the first.
Yeah, one thing the Bucs want to do early on is really pressure the Miners at the plate. Kerr doing a good job of bringing the count full, but Rummery able to stand in on his own 2 feet and deliver a strike. That's not the way that the Miners wanted to start this game off, but still early on and a lot of great options in the dugout as Chase Wilcox comes to the plate.
Yep, Chase Wilcox, as I mentioned, the average leader coming into today on the Miners by a single point. He's showing bunt, lays one down the left field line, but it rolls foul. This is a turf field at Mulcahy Stadium, so the infield at least is going to be inundated with water. It does not drain too well. So we will definitely see that influence the outcome of this game as we go on. This rain is only set to get harder as the innings go further. That pitch is inside, but just finds the upper corner of the zone. 0-2 to the Central Missouri Mule.
Talked about him having the best batting average on the team. He also has the best on-base percentage at .377. He's forced 10 walks this season as well.
He'll have to work if he wants to force one here. That's a long foul ball off to the left.
Also got 11 RBIs, and when you talk about players who have been consistent lately, it's been him. He's been one of the most consistent hitters that Matsu has had, and they've looked to him time and time again to help them to get an early offensive spark.
0-2. Just high. Chase Wilcox came around to score in the first inning of Monday's game against the Bucs. That ended up being the only run of the entire game. Matsu would win it 1-0 on a stellar pitching performance. And that will clip him. A hit by pitch, so Wilcox is on base in the first inning for the second straight game. You mentioned that team leading on base percentage. Sometimes you got to take one for the team if you want to keep that number up where it is.
Yeah, just barely got him that time, but did a good job of standing in that count and not falling on the 0-2. Able to get on to first base, and a little bit of a graze, but he'll take it. Now you've got Kyle McCausland on, and this is where Matsu wanted to be early on. You've got one of your best extra base hitters up to bat.
And no balls in play yet for the Miners, but this is a likely culprit to break that trend. Kyle McCausland, who will take a pitch high and outside.
One thing the Miners haven't done a lot of this season is get the jump on Anchorage as far as scoring. A lot of times they've had to play from behind. We talked about that on Monday. They kind of controlled the game even with a 1-0 lead. I think that helped them to a huge degree to get that win. If they could do that again, it might be the recipe to go back-to-back.
Absolutely. 0-1. Big cut by McCausland, who's in a bit of a cold stretch now, down to 247. Still with those 6 doubles, 1 home run, 11 runs batted in. He has an absolutely torrid stretch on the horizon, we're sure, because it's happened before. And any one of these plate appearances could be the one. Another 0-2 count coming from Rummery. And that will be on the ground to third, flipping on to second for 1. McCausland going to try and outrun it, and he will. Legging out a fielder's choice to prevent the double play and keep the inning alive. Wilcox thrown out on the 6-4, but McCausland takes his place at first as Christian Perez comes to the plate.
Yeah, not ideal when it comes to a ground out. McCausland was trying to get it on the left side through the 4-3 hole. Couldn't get it past Burns or Hankins that time, but able to at least get onto first base and preserve the inning. That's the key thing. That was between Burns and Hankins in the 6-5 hole, rather. But still just couldn't get it into the outfield. Good news, though, is that he got onto first.
And now here's Christian Perez, another guy who's just dying to see one drop down for a hit. And he'll sky that one into the shallow outfield. Likely won't be this. Shortstop ranging on, and he'll make the grab. Will Burns will retire the side. Christian Perez goes down and leaves a man on first. Matsu without a run in the top of the first. You'll see the pitchers in the bottom half as Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube will return shortly.
I need to adjust, just let me
On
know.
to the bottom half of the first inning between the Anchorage Bucs and the Matsu Miners. Matsu looking for 2 in a row against the best team in the ABL. And on the mound to try and get him there will be Tucker Timmerman, the club's leader in earned run average and just an absolute workhorse for the Miners this season.
Yeah, I think workhorse is a great way to describe Tucker Timmerman. A 0.53 earned run average, 18 strikeouts on the year, 17 innings pitched, a 2-1 record, and 5 appearances. This will be number 6 for the freshman out of Beatrice, Nebraska. He's been an incredible starter for Matsu this year, and I have no doubt that he will replicate that success here this evening.
He'll be facing off against a lineup of Will Burns, Cole Carlone, Andrew Lamb, Ryan Callahan, Tommy Eisenstadt, Peyton Knowles, Brody Briggs, Josh Hankins, and Zane Kelly. A lot of terrifying names up and down that order, but nothing Timmerman hasn't seen before. First of those will be Burns, the shortstop who caught that pop out by Perez to end the top of the first inning.
Matsu was able to limit him pretty well the first time around this week, back on Monday. And they would love to do that early on. But like you mentioned, with Burns, Carlone, and Lamb coming up, this is going to be a tough start. And you can tell that the Bucs are really prioritizing consistency and power at the top of their order tonight.
Will Burns, the everyday leadoff man for the Bucs, and he hits one first pitch on the ground, fielded nicely by the third baseman, throws on to Wilcox. A great play there by Dom Patrizzi, who plays all over the infield for the Miners. Today he's at third, and he's showing he belongs.
Well, the baseball is a little bit slippery. It sure isn't showing. Great work by Dom Patrizzi that time to hold on to it, get the 5-3 put out. Easy throw over to first to Wilcox, and that is what Matsu wanted to do defensively to start things off.
1 pitch, 1 out for Tucker Timmerman, now facing off against Cole Carlone. 338 on the year. That leads the ABL with two home runs, just 7 strikeouts on the season, 12 runs batted in. Cuts and misses there, 1-1.
I got 25 hits, a 395 on base percentage, and the best slugging percentage in the ABL at 446.
He can also pitch. He's one of the best pitchers in the ABL, and the Miners have had the misfortune of running afoul of him when he's on the mound, too. So probably pound for pound the most valuable player overall in the ABL. That pitch is outside by Timmerman, 3-1. Trying to avoid a first inning walk. And instead, he'll coax a grounder. This time, Wilcox will underhand it to Timmerman, who will step on the bag for a second straight ground out.
Great start for this Mat-Su infield defense, and especially against Cole Carlone, that's probably the best possible result you can get unless you get a strikeout. That was a perfect job by the infield defense. Great work by Wilcox, and good job by Timmerman to get on to first base. 2 quick outs against 2 very good batters. Right now, Mat-Su's defense is looking solid.
You mentioned it earlier. This is a wet infield. The turf is going to be waterlogged before long if it isn't already, so defense, especially on ground balls, is going to be all that more difficult. A team that has struggled with bouts of infield errors at times this season. They had an error-free day yesterday. Hoping to replicate that here. Timmerman missing low on his first 2 offerings to Andrew Lamb, the right fielder for Anchorage.
Yeah, and that was a big key in that game against the Bucs back on Monday, was their ability to avoid infield errors. We've seen before how that ends up costing them in key situations. You could argue it cost them maybe a couple games against the Bucs. They avoided that on Monday and got themselves a 1-0 win. That's going to be crucial to do once again here today.
2-1, line foul. Aside from that 9-1 home loss to Anchorage, all the Miners games against the Bucs have been close. There was that 10-9 loss in one of the first home games of the season, a pair of 2-0 losses here in a doubleheader at Mulcahy, and then of course that 1-0 win on Monday. So these teams have proven themselves to be pretty evenly matched as Timmerman runs the count full with an outside pitch. It's just the Bucs have gotten the better of them in the long run. We're hoping there will be some progression to the mean at play. Here's a payoff pitch from Timmerman, and he misses inside. A 2-out walk gets Andrew Lamb aboard.
Tried him on the breaking ball that time. Lamb not fooled on the inside pitch. Still got it to a full count, so positive sign, just an early mistake and something that Timmerman can definitely overcome. He's just got to make sure to not give the Bucs anything else here in the bottom half of the first.
Ryan Callahan at 304, 412 on base percentage. It's remarkable. 304 batting average and a 304 slugging, which means every single hit he has this season was a single and nothing more. But definitely a valuable offensive piece none the same as he takes a ball from Timmerman. Having a little bit of trouble locating the strike zone in the early goings here.
Yeah, doesn't quite have a strikeout yet. He's been more relying on that infield defense so far and a couple of groundouts. But the thing about Tucker is that once he gets into rhythm and once he gets warmed up, he is very hard to stop.
He's got 18 strikeouts coming into today, which once was toward the top of the pitching rotation, but then Jack Hostetler decided to run away with it. Runner goes, and that was strange. The throw comes in from Timmerman, and it's going to be safe. I thought the ball was in the glove of Brandon Durand. I saw him run out of the corner of my eye, and I think Andrew Lamb thought that as well. That throw was very close out of the hand of Timmerman into the second baseman Richard, but just able to beat it out there was Lamb, so he's into scoring position.
Yeah, Timmerman was just looking towards the plate, never really noticed that Lamb was coming in from behind, and he is maybe looking to even steal third, and this time Tucker's going to catch him.
Yep, Durand is a watchful eye behind the dish. He's capable of throwing out runners, as all the catchers on the Miners are. 1-1 from the Cornhusker. High and tight. Bought a strike.
You notice that these two teams are wearing the same jerseys also that they wore on Monday. Both have the camo design back. That's good for Mat-Su, at least from an omen standpoint.
Trying to blend in. Keep the element of surprise. It's no wonder I didn't notice him taking off for second base. 1-2. Line shot, fielded by Patrizzi, throwing across, and Wilcox has got a stretch, but he keeps his foot on the bag. A great play, another great connection from Patrizzi to Wilcox. The throw wasn't perfect that time, but Wilcox made it work. The Bucs go scoreless, as do the Miners. No score through 1. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball here on YouTube. second inning in Mulcahy. Bucs and Miners knotted up at 0. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons on the call, and Garvey Rummery still on the mound now to face off against the second half of this Mat-Su Miners lineup. It'll be Patrizi, Durand, and Cochran, 3 hitters who have been all producing very well lately for Mat-Su.
And you got the ABL leader in RBIs at the plate in Dom Patrizi right now, 17 on the season. He has certainly been on a roll as of late, and Mat-Su hopes he can replicate that tonight. He added another one back on Monday. That was the only run of the game for Mat-Su.
Yep, always there when you need him. That pitch finds the zone from Rummery, 1-1. That RBI lead he built up so quickly in the opening stages of the season when the Miners were scoring 8 runs a game. The offense that we saw those first 5 games comes and goes. Of course, they have those explosions where they'll beat you 12-0, 10-0, what have you, but they've demonstrated the ability to win in a lot of different ways. And Patrizi, definitely emblematic of that. He has a home run this season, but mainly a contact hitter.
And I think one thing that Mat-Su definitely wants to improve on is that offense. They've been solid as of late, but they haven't had the offensive explosions like you've talked about. Trying to fix that.
2-2 pitch cut on and missed. Down goes Patrizi, second K by Rummery.
Yeah, caught him swinging that time, and Dom trying to hit on that fastball, just couldn't get a handle on it. That's a tough strikeout.
Brandon Durand, the catcher today, and we saw him before the game. They had a pitching machine rigged up when they were doing batting practice, and I think he probably hit 3 or 4 balls over the fence. He'll rip that one foul, nearly fielded by the third base coach down there.
Of course, the only Miner with multiple home runs this season, both of them in the same game.
In consecutive plate appearances against the Chinooks at Lee Jordan Field, where the Miners will be heading tomorrow, weather permitting. That's right down the middle. The rain has lightened up a bit, not tapered off completely, but it's definitely slowed down. We're hopeful that maybe the worst of it might be behind us. Brandon Durand goes down on 3 pitches. Garvey Rummery feeling it a bit here.
That's the second consecutive strikeout on that high fastball. First it was Patrizi, now it's Durand who swings and misses at it. Tough start here in the top of the second for this Mat-Su offense. They just can't get a handle on that high fastball.
Stole that idea from Jack Hostetler, I reckon.
It's a pretty good pitch.
This is Ryan Cochran taking strike 1. Mat-Su shortstop pretty much every day since he joined the team down in Kenai, about a third of the way through the season. And he hits a comebacker off the mound, fielded by Burns at short, who throws on in time to get him. A 1-2-3 inning for the Bucs. Mat-Su stays off the scoreboard. We head to the bottom of the second. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Don't go anywhere. Bottom second, 0-0 the score remains. Tucker Timmerman back on the bump. Had a little bit of a shaky first inning, but escaped it with no damage. He'll face off against Tommy Eisenstadt, Peyton Knowles, and Brody Briggs, 5, 6, 7, in this Anchorage Bucs lineup that 2 days ago was completely blanked at the hand of these Miners pitchers. The best offense in the ABL, and they have not scored a run in a minute. First up will be Eisenstadt, who takes strike one. First baseman for the Bucs at .274 for the season. 10 runs batted in, has drawn 11 walks. But he's down 0-2 here.
Yeah, Tucker Timmerman kind of getting back into that zone now, both literally and figuratively. Taking it to Tommy Eisenstadt early, the junior out of Gonzaga. 62 at-bats on the season, like you were talking about. 17 hits, .397 on-base percentage.
0-2, and around he went. Hopeless was that plate appearance. 3 strikes, and Tommy Eisenstadt is the first K victim of Tucker Timmerman.
Yeah, it seems like Tucker settled in just a bit. He laid in 3 perfect fastballs, and there was nothing that Eisenstadt could do about it. That is the wrong kind of stat for Eisenstadt.
That is low and taken for a ball by Peyton Knowles, the second baseman. Matsu and Anchorage, the only teams in action today. As pitch one comes in.
A couple of high pitches back-to-back by Tucker here.
That's in for a strike. 2-1 to Knowles. At .282 on the season, golfs that one foul. 3 runs batted in, 11 hits in 39 at-bats. And now he's got a 2-2. He'll hit one into the outfield, left center field. Riker Scow as well as Kerr, and Scow will take it. The rain has picked up considerably in the last couple of minutes. And I could really see that as I was looking into the outfield, tracking that ball. That's going to be very difficult for those fielders to keep their composure with all that water coming down.
Yeah, it may have even had an effect on that baseball and the way it traveled that time off of the bat. Good work by Riker Scow to camp underneath it, but this is going to make things very interesting for the defensive side of both teams. How do you maintain your execution in what could be treacherous conditions?
2 down for Brody Briggs, the catcher, who takes the ball. Timmerman looking for a clean 1-2-3 inning, just like his Bucs counterpart in the top of the second.
Yeah, and that would be crucial for Matsu in this spot. You do not want to give the Bucs the upper hand. You got to make sure to keep the momentum about equal between these two teams. The early momentum is still very much for the taking.
That will miss just low. So a 3-0 count on the catcher Briggs.
You see Timmerman really working fast here, trying to find the strike zone early and often.
Trying to get himself off that mound and into the shade, I reckon. Finds the zone with that offering, 3-1. Seeing planes flying overhead. I can only imagine the conditions they are in right now, because it is absolutely pouring. And ball 4 will get Brody Briggs aboard with a 2-out walk. The second straight 2-out walk in as many innings issued by Timmerman. He will head to first base and subject all those currently on the field to a little bit more of this. The sky has just opened up. It is a downpour here at Mulcahy Stadium, and we just hope that this blows over quick.
Yeah, it's a decent amount of rain right now. It's not the worst I've ever seen, but it's definitely going to make things tougher on both sides. And they're going to call time here.
Yeah, the hitter just wanted a second.
Of course, with what it is, you almost worry about them pausing the game, so anytime they call time, you kind of are like, uh-oh.
I think both teams are highly incentivized to want to get this game to completion, so
right.
I don't think we would have to worry about that in case it got absolutely unplayable, which if this continues for any amount of time on a turf field, you wonder when that cutoff point would be. Enough about that, though. The game currently unfolding right now, and it's our job to bring it to you. 0-1, throw comes into first instead. Briggs has to dive back.
These two teams will meet again on July 21st, also at Mulcahy Stadium. Matsu with 3 straight road games against these Bucs.
Swing and a miss, and away goes the bat. Wow, that flew right into the Bucs dugout. I don't know if that actually went inside it, but it nearly took off the head of Josh Hankins in the on-deck circle. I can't quite make out where it went because there's a little ledge and we can't see into the dugout, but if it didn't go in the dugout, it was very close. And again, you can see the water. I reckon that probably made him lose his grip.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it on that one. That is a very rare thing to see. Almost looked like a helicopter going towards the dugout, and all of a sudden the count's 0-2.
Timmerman.
Slowing it down a little bit here.
On the ground is short. Cochran can toss on for the force out and retire the side. So for the second straight inning, a 2-out walk yields nothing. Tucker Timmerman escapes and leaves the Bucs without a run. 0-0 as we head to the third. The rain continues to fall, but all of you in your nice, cozy, dry homes watching on with us have no reason to go anywhere, so don't. Matsu Miners Baseball will be right back. Welcome back to the crossroads of the world, Anchorage, Alaska. The start of the third inning. This game just flying by between the Matsu Miners and Anchorage Bucs. Both pitchers on point. The hitters have combined for 0 hits and just 3 base runners. Garvey Rummery has allowed 2 of those back in the first, but a 1-2-3 second has him facing off against 8-9-1, Scow, Richard, and Kerr, as the third inning is set to begin here at Mulcahy Stadium.
Well, like we've talked about, especially with these conditions, it favors the defenses, and thus far they have certainly been the preeminent force in this game.
Rummery on for inning number 3, starts Riker Scow off with the ball, 118 on the season. The BYU Cougar, 4 runs batted in, and just got a piece of that.
He was the DH back on Monday for Matsu, the first time I believe he's been in that spot all year, but now back at his usual spot in left field.
Yeah, Tyler Brunn wanted to have Kyle McCausland, Kellen Strohmeyer, and Riker Scow in the lineup all at the same time. Considering how well Strohmeyer was hitting, he has the day off today, and Scow out and left to replace him. 1-2. Trying to avoid becoming the 4th strikeout victim of Rummery, and he will not. Strike 3. Rummery has led all 3 innings so far today off with a K.
That's his 4th strikeout already in this game. First time he's gotten somebody looking, though. I think Riker expected this baseball to be a little bit higher and a little bit more to the outside. It just caught that top right corner of the zone from my vantage point. Able to sink in there. Tough break for Riker in that spot.
Just 1 hit by pitch is all Rummery has allowed through this first trip through the order. Ryan Richard trying to end that streak and get the first hit for either side in this third inning.
If anyone's going to force a walk, it's going to be this guy. He has the most walks forced on the team at 14.
He's 1-1 now, 197 hitter. 4 runs batted in on the year. But that .355 on base percentage, such a massive difference between those two numbers. And like you said, that is how you do it. Pop-up foul by the man out of Louisiana, Baton Rouge Community College. Imagine used to weather like this. Maybe not quite this cold, but the rain's certainly a fixture down there. 1-2.
Yeah, this spot might favor guys like him, like you talked about, with players who are used to playing in the rain. They may know more about how to tackle this kind of environment. Not to say that not all players don't play in the rain, but it certainly does help.
Inside, but strike 3 called. Richard sits down. That is strikeout number 5 for Garvey Rummery. That'll end his first trip through the order, and a dominant trip it was. No hits, 5 Ks, just a lone hit by pitch, as well as a Kyle McCausland fielder's choice. And Matsu going to have to answer the riddle that he has posited to them here today. Drake Kerr, the first one who gets a second crack at it, struck out swinging to start this game. He'll show bunt, but does not make contact.
Yeah, there it is, that customary bunt that we're so used to, and Rummery putting it outside that time, not giving Kerr an opportunity. You saw Kerr take off running. That's what he wants to do in this spot, give himself a better chance.
That one will find the zone, 1-1.
See, the zone is almost expanded to some degree for the home plate umpire. On that last pitch to Richard, it was well inside. I'm not sure if I completely agree with that call, but it was made nonetheless.
Lazy fly ball, landing foul. I definitely agree with that. It is definitely expanded.
And now as a hitter, you've got to account for that and make sure to make the appropriate adjustments, which Drake Kerr is very good at.
1-2. Inside. Kerr had to dance out of the way.
Dancing in the rain.
Miners hitless through 2 2/3. Now a 2-2 will be grounded up the middle, and Drake Kerr looks like he will end that stretch, and he will. Peyton Knowles with the diving stop, but he can't do anything with it. So the second time through the order, Drake Kerr will end the drought. The first hit allowed by either side today, and I think that was about the only drought currently active with these conditions right here on this field.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it, and I'll tell you what, Drake Kerr, a great bunter, but also a great guy when it comes to ground ball hits, and he put that one perfectly over the mound and up the middle. And you saw Knowles get after it. He was able to get to it in time, but he could not get it over to first base with how quick Drake Kerr is. The speed of Kerr really helped in that instance to leg out a 2-out single and get a guy on base.
And there he goes. Briggs throwing down to second. The slide by Kerr, and he is out. I think he slid off the bag, and the tag applied by Knowles, so that will retire the side. A very slippery surface at second base, and I think it came back to bite him there because he overslid that bag by a considerable degree. He is caught stealing to retire the side. They get a hit, but they do not get a run, and we'll be back with the bottom of the third in a second. But before that, let's take our customary look around the ABL at the current look of the standings. There was no action yesterday, so these are correct. And what do you see, Dylan?
Well, we see the Anchorage Bucs still on top at 17-8. That's who Matsu is obviously playing tonight. The Oilers at second at 16-11, 2 games behind the Bucs now. And meanwhile, your Matsu Miners at 13-13 overall. With a win tonight, they could certainly get themselves in position to take over that second spot. And remember, they play the Oilers on Saturday at Herman Brothers Field, with the potential second spot in the standings on the line. Then the Pilots at 4th at 10-16, and they're the Chinooks down at 5th at 8-17. A lot of high-stakes games in these standings coming up soon.
Yeah, the Chinooks have taken a bit of a slide recently. They lost all 4 games they played down in Kenai. The 5th one was rained out, and we assume that'll be made up at a later date, but they have fallen a bit back of the Anchorage Glacier Pilots, who themselves have won a couple games in a row to get themselves into position to make the postseason. But for Matsu, they're 3 games clear of the Pilots. They're not currently the team that the Miners are worrying about. Like you said, it's those Oilers. With a win today, Matsu could move to 2 games back of Peninsula, so that second seed would not be on the line if that was the margin. But it's a couple more wins for Matsu. Maybe the Oilers slip up since they'll be on the road. That is something they do often. And we'll just have to wait and see as the closing picture this season, the playoff picture, starts to take shape. Matsu right in the thick of it. And they can definitely give themselves a leg up with a win right now. Showing bunt there to lead off this frame was Zane Kelly, the last man for the Bucs to bat against Timmerman.
Another San Diego State product, another teammate of Nico Tomasello.
Timmerman working quick as his habit, and he misses twice.
Kelly with 59 at-bats on the year, 12 hits, 10 RBIs, 390 on-base percentage.
And see, that pitch was right down the middle, Dylan. I'm
that was
not entirely sure what is the big idea with that. 3-0 by Timmerman, and that's going to be a 4-pitch walk. His third of the evening to get Zane Kelly aboard, a leadoff base on balls as the third inning reaches its second half.
Yeah, that was a very odd at-bat that time, and I'm with you. I thought that looked like a strike, especially that dead center fastball, but they ended up ruling it as a ball, and that is tough. You give up a leadoff walk with Kelly, and now you go back to the top of the order, so that's going to be potentially huge.
Will Burns, a victim of a nice 5-3 putout in the first inning. This time he'll lay down a bunt. Timmerman will field it and throw on to get him. On to second goes Kelly on the sac bunt, but one away here in the third.
Good work by Timmerman to chase after that baseball and get the easy out. But it did its job and advanced Kelly on to second, which right now, with the way that the offenses are humming, you want to score runs above anything else. So that was definitely what the Bucs wanted, and they're able to get a runner on to scoring position.
In scoring position with less than 2 outs, the first time either team has had that today, and Cole Carlone, just about the last guy you want to have up in that situation if you're Matsu. He'll crush one out to left field. Looks like it's going to go just foul, though, and into the bleachers. Every time he gets a hold of one, you got to hold your breath.
That you certainly do. The biggest thing with Cole Carlone is you want to avoid the big hit, the extra base double, the potential home run. That's what Timmerman is trying to make sure doesn't happen. We've already seen Cole Carlone be successful against the Miners in that department. And Timmerman able to avoid disaster that time.
The righty's 0-1. That's again hit hard, this time further off in foul territory. So down to his last strike is Carlone. Had a pretty quiet day on Monday. Did have one hit, but was 1 for 4. His entire team, of course, struggled to get really anything going against the pitchers for Matsu. 0-2, and that will miss.
A little bit low that time by Tucker. I like what he was trying to do, though. Keep it away from Carlone. See if you can get him swinging. Obviously, Cole Carlone was not fooled in that case, but Tucker seeing what he can do in this spot. May go back to that fastball here.
He will, and Carlone will spoil it. The best hitter by average and arguably at least by power in the Alaska Baseball League against one of the ABL's top pitchers.
And if he does
top ERA man on the best staff in the league, there's certainly a case to be made there. 1-2. Just got a piece of it. That'll be a dribbler, and it got off the home plate, so foul ball. Carlone will walk back.
If he does get one into the outfield, these Matsu outfielders have to be ready. McCausland, Kerr, and Scow. We don't know how slick the surface is, but there certainly could be a gap shot on the horizon, and Matsu will have to be to make sure to keep their footing and chase down that baseball if at all possible.
It's grass out there in the outfield, so it isn't going to be quite as soaked, but the field as a whole, not known for its drainage, so they are all well aware of that. A 1-2, swing and a miss. With the high heat, Cole Carlone goes down, nods his head. Nothing he could have done about that. Strikeout number 2 and a big one for Timmerman.
Yeah, that was a massive strikeout to take out Cole Carlone, the primary deep hitter. A huge fastball towards the inside, and Carlone swung at it and caught nothing but air. That is about as big of a strikeout as Timmerman could hope to get in this spot.
Andrew Lamb, one of 3 to draw a walk against Timmerman, his first trip through the order. Later stole second.
You see
Tucker's stranded there.
Tucker slowed down his pace a little bit. He's gone back to that more refined pitching style, just trying to be patient with it.
Working out of the stretch, as he is, a man on second base that he would prefer to keep there, or perhaps even throw out. That'll be lined right at Cochran into the glove of the shortstop. A lucky break for Matsu, and they'll retire the side for the third straight inning. A base runner allowed by Timmerman, but nothing to show for it on the side of the Bucs. 0-0 as we head to the fourth, the mid part of this game, and that means Dylan, he'll be back to bring you the action. Matsu Miners Baseball will return after this.
Welcome back to Anchorage, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call with you. As always, it is the top half of the fourth inning between the Miners and your Miners and the Anchorage Bucs. Score is currently tied at 0-0. Chase Wilcox to lead off, followed by Kyle McCausland and Christian Perez. So far, it's been somewhat tough sledding for the Matsu offense. They did get a single from Drake Kerr in the top half of the third inning, but thus far, no runs scored. They're going to be trying to fix that soon. Wilcox to lead off, followed by McCausland and Perez.
Wilcox and McCausland were both able to reach base back in the first inning. Wilcox on a hit by pitch, and Kyle got there on a fielder's choice. That was a little mini, not quite jam, but a threat allowed by Rummery, and then since then, he has been just about lights out.
5 strikeouts for Rummery so far. This pitch is low for ball 2. Wilcox forced a hit by pitch in his first plate appearance of the game, but was out on a ground ball to second base. Facing a 2-0 here, and that will be a 2-1, right in the zone that time. Wilcox, the team leader in an on-base percentage, as we've said before, former basketball star back in high school as well, played for 3 years. Here's a ground ball right between the mound, and it goes off the leg of Rummery. Wilcox on to first, and Matsu will have a runner aboard here.
Yeah, nothing that Garvey Rummery could have done about that. He saw the ball screaming right toward him, jumped out of the way, and his leg hit it, kicked it right into no man's land. That happens. Chase Wilcox will certainly take it. He has reached base twice so far today, and this time a leadoff single. The Miners can certainly do something with that.
Yeah, leadoff single for Wilcox, not the most orthodox way to do it. He went right between the legs of Rummery and then off of one of the legs, either the right or the left. But Wilcox will take it. That'll send on Kyle McCausland, the right fielder, who reached first on a fielder's choice that took out Wilcox in the top half of the first. But now he's hoping to potentially send Wilcox on to second or third and get safe himself. Miners now with 2 hits in the game to the Bucs none, trying to take the early lead and do it for the second straight game against Anchorage.
Wilcox can run too.
And he's going to do just that. Here's the throw, and it's over the head of the second baseman. It goes into center field. Wilcox is safe at second base. Peyton Knowles could not corral that baseball. The throw from Brody Briggs too high.
Yeah, we've seen it twice now. I think he would have been out if that throw had been a little bit lower. Both he and Kerr got really not great jumps out of first base, and I'm wondering if that might have something to do with the turf being as wet as it is. You don't have as much traction, but that throw sailed over the second baseman's head, and Wilcox now into scoring position. McCausland has a golden opportunity, along with Perez, Patrizzi, the dangerous heart of this lineup, to get on the board.
That was ball 1 from McCausland, by the way. Count goes to 1-0. Wilcox still trying to bait Rummery in. This is fouled into the lamb up here. The count goes to 1-1, and thankfully our GoPro survives.
Yep, we're playing with fire every day with that thing. But
it would take a pinpoint foul ball to take it out. Of course, we've seen pinpoint foul balls in this press box before.
And by in, we mean literally.
Literally inside. Maybe it'll happen again. 1-1. That is well outside for ball 2. McCausland just letting it go by. Count goes to 2-1. Wilcox in scoring position, the first minor to get in that spot today.
I tell you what, McCausland definitely used to weather like this. New England, pretty much all spring, this is the weather. Cold, rainy, generally unpleasant.
In some ways, it may feel like home for McCausland. He'll swing and miss at this fastball, and the count goes to 2-2. Tried to get a hold of it, but just missed the end of the bat.
Yeah, we've seen him a couple times now chase some of those more outside pitches. He's really looking for one that he can drill a long way. We know he's capable of it, but Rummery's had the better of him so far.
So the count at 2-2. Rummery looking back at second, fires in a pitch high for ball 3. Briggs doing a good job of corralling it. Otherwise, Wilcox could have had a legit chance at getting on to third. Instead, the count will go full at 3-2.
There is I don't know if you can see it on the camera, there's a soccer game, women's soccer game underway in the football field behind the left field fence. So,
I didn't see that.
If any balls get kicked over the wall, that's why.
This is just fouled, and the count will stay full for McCausland.
Ooh, I think he might have gotten away with one there. I don't know if that hit his bat. I think it went off of the glove of Briggs. I don't know if he might have just barely made contact, but
whatever the case, the count 3-2. McCausland lives to fight another day. Could be good fortune for Matsu. A no-out payoff pitch on the way from Rummery. McCausland will foul this one up over the bleachers. The count stays full at 3-2, and he is giving Rummery all he can handle in this spot.
Yeah, definitely valuable no matter how this plate appearance ends. Of course, there's a much more valuable way that it could end, but even if he is unable to advance Wilcox, it's good to force the pitcher to throw a lot. In conditions like this, you're going to tire out much quicker.
The top extra base hitter on the team is McCausland. Lets this come in, and that's going to be a strikeout.
Yep, just couldn't hold up, went around on that pitch inside. Strikeout number 6 for Garvey Rummery, and I think that's now on the short list for one of the best performances we've seen against the Miners this season in terms of racking up those Ks. Remember, there was a game against the Pilots, I'm pretty sure, where they had 10. But this is definitely getting close to that.
Yeah, McCausland swinging on that inside pitch. Obviously a tough result, but that was a very solid at-bat nonetheless. This is Christian Perez, who swings and misses. The count goes to 0-1. Perez working as the cleanup man tonight for Matsu. He popped one out to the shortstop Burns his first time up.
Yeah, he was the first of 6 straight batters that Rummery retired. Bottom 6 in the lineup for Matsu.
He's been on a little bit of a cold streak lately, but he's trying to pick that up now. And obviously with that past consistency, you always have to take into account just how good he can be.
You just saw a teammate of his and a former minor get drafted over the weekend. Tyler Wilson, Matsu Miners in 2021, and Grand Canyon U as well.
0-1 count here, swing and a miss. Had a couple of minors get drafted. Congratulations to both. As Perez will have the count at 0-2. 85 at-bats on the year, 21 hits, 12 RBIs, and a .247 batting average. .340 on-base percentage at the moment. The 0-2. And that is low for ball 1 in the turf. Briggs able to keep it in front of him. Keep Wilcox at second.
The other minor that was picked, Brandon Downer, a pitcher on last year's team out of Cal Baptist, drafted by the Orioles, and Wilson went to the Yankees. So very happy to see that. The Matsu to MLB, the minors to majors, you could say, pipeline alive and well.
That reinforces the Cal Baptist presence that's in the ABL as well. Another Cal Baptist player. Here is a fly ball into left field. Chasing after it is Callahan, and he will make the catch near the left field line for out 2.
Now, I'm unfortunate there that he couldn't have hit it to the right side of the diamond because it might have given Wilcox a chase to advance, but it's okay. Dom Patrizzi, as dependable a man as any to drive in a run when a run needs to be batted in.
Yeah, Patrizzi to the plate. Team leader in RBIs, ABL leader in RBIs, and a team leader as well in other ways. Helps provide for this offense time and time again. Now in a 2-out spot with Wilcox at second. Pitch from Rummery, swing and a miss by Patrizzi. Count goes to 0-1. Matsu's offense is trying to get back in the swing of things, so to speak. They have had several consecutive games, in fact 8 straight, where they have not surpassed 3 runs. So they are trying to get that offensive output that they've had before. This is going to be fouled off. Right side, count goes to 0-2.
Patrizzi, another East Coast man, New Jersey, attendee of Lehigh University, along with Ryan Cochran, his partner in crime on the infield.
Now the 0-2 count. Wilcox still at second, praying that Patrizzi can send him home. The 0-2. And that is a curveball that's low for ball 1. Good work by Patrizzi to let that go by.
Yeah, great take there by the third baseman. That one was right at the bottom, potentially right on that line, but he wasn't fooled by that late breaking ball. Lives to swing another day.
That he does. 1-2. He has been good in 2-strike situations before. As Wilcox is dancing over there near second. This is fouled into the netting. Count stays the same.
Wilcox is great at that. I've noticed him do that a few times this season when he's out on second base. You know, he very rarely actually tries to steal third. You know, it's a very gutsy move to do that at this stage of the game, but just kind of dancing around, distracting the pitcher while he's in this stretch, making him think twice about what he should do.
It's that second guessing that can sometimes get a pitcher, and Patrizzi will let this one by for ball number 2. Another good take.
He's fought all the way back from down 0-2. This is what he does. And a big pitch coming up.
Well, much like Wilcox and Richard, he's also good at drawing walks. 12 on the season, a .311 on-base percentage. Trying to get back on base right here. Remember, he's got Durand on deck as well, which could be crucial. The 2-2. Rummery taking his time, fires it in. This is a liner into right, and it will be caught by Andrew Lamb to end the top half of the 4th inning. Matsu puts 1 runner aboard and Chase Wilcox on a single, but nothing else past that. Score still 0-2-0 between the Bucs and your Miners. We'll be right back for the bottom half of the 4th inning. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to the crossroads of the world, Anchorage, Alaska. This is Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Your Miners currently tied with the Anchorage Bucs by a score of 0-0. Tucker Timmerman still on the mound. He's had a solid showing so far.
has held the Bucs scoreless. Leading off will be Ryan Callahan in this inning. Timmerman's first pitch is going to be low for ball 1.
Not only scoreless, of course, also hitless. Through the first time through and change, allowed a trio of walks. A couple men reached scoring position, but no solid contact allowed by the Nebraska Cornhusker thus far. And another heroic effort that might be needed with the way the two teams are playing on offense so far today.
Callahan out of Overland Park, Kansas, will ground one towards first. Wilcox picks it up. Underhand toss, picked up, and tagging first is Timmerman for out 1.
Yeah, that's a play that they practice a lot, these minors, during the practice sessions that they get. That ground ball where the third baseman and the pitcher have to be in lockstep, and I don't think I've seen them mess that up a single time this season. It's a lot harder than it looks, and it just speaks to how dedicated they are to improving that infield D.
As Tommy Eisenstadt makes his way to the plate, so no shocking for the Wichita State man Ryan Callahan. There's a high chopper towards third. Throw to first is in time. Great recovery by Dom Patrizzi. Put on his track shoes to get out number 2.
He has been an absolute menace at the hot corner so far today. 0 for 2 with his bat, but he is affecting this game in any way he can. That's 3 now excellent plays by him. Connections between the Mountain Hawk and the Mule at third and first, respectively.
Yeah, Patrizzi doing a great job in the hot corner. Another 5-3 putout. Timmerman fires in a low pitch. Count goes to 1-0. This middle part of the Bucs lineup has not had quite the same success, you could argue, as the top half, even though everybody's hitless, so it's kind of all relative at this point. But they have had a couple who have been able to get on base. Andrew Lamb, one of those, with a walk forced. 2-0 count. That is ball 3.
Bold.
Yeah, quickly ball 3 on Peyton Knowles. Timmerman has issued a 4-pitch walk already in this game.
He has not gotten an inning without issuing a walk yet.
3-0 count. It's going to be a foul ball. Count goes to 3-1.
Every inning has contained exactly 1 walk. 2 of them with 2 outs. This would make it 3. Trying to get that first 1-2-3 inning.
Pitch to Knowles. This is a fly ball into left field. Back is Scow, and he will make the catch in front of the track to end the 4th inning. Score still 0-0, and the Bucs still hitless. Tucker Timmerman with another great performance. We'll be right back for the top half of the 5th inning. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. Welcome back to Mulcahy Stadium in the crossroads of the world, Anchorage, Alaska. Dylan Simmons, Charlie Fellows on the call, and When it comes to Miners Bucks as of late, the relative term is low scoring. The score is still donut to donut between the Miners and the Bucks, 0-0, but Brandon Durand is looking to change that. Rummery still on the mound, and we'll see what he can do against the leadoff hitter. This is popped up and fouled. Count goes to 0-1 as it'll land somewhere behind our press box.
Not a ton of action on the field, but between innings, there's been wonderful music playing. I just had the wonderful privilege of introducing Mr. Dylan Simmons to Sir Duke by Stevie Wonder, which he had somehow never heard before.
Don't judge me, please, in the chat. I promise that I listened to some good music, but I haven't listened to all of Stevie Wonder's stuff. 1-1 count. Durand will let this go by, and it just caught the edge of the zone for a strike.
These games are always very musical experiences because our headsets pick up a radio station nearby that has rock music playing in our ears all game long.
Rummery working fast, swing and a miss by Durand, and that's going to be a 4-pitch strikeout to lead things off in the top half of the 5th inning.
Yeah, that's the second time he's gone down on strikes, and looking like a rough go of things here between the catcher and the man on the mound for the Bucs.
That's now 7 strikeouts for Garvey Rummery in this game. He has been very tough for Matsu to deal with. That'll send on Ryan Cochran, who lets this curveball go by, and it finds the zone as well. Strike 1.
Yeah, Cochran had that big double against the Bucs back on Monday.
That is just going to be away from the zone. Count goes to 1-1. Cochran with a 6-3 ground out his first time up. 1 ball, 1 strike, and a swing and a miss. 1-2.
Coming into today, Rummery had 15 Ks, although I'm not actually sure how much I trust this leaderboard because right now it says Wyatt Halverson has 39 strikeouts this season, and I know for a fact that is not true.
The 1-2, and that is just going to stay away from the zone, thankfully for Cochran. Count will be 2-2. Sometimes it's hard to tell on some of these pitches whether it's going to be low or high in the zone, but luckily for Cochran, it stayed away that time.
Especially with the rain, it's got to be even more difficult to read that.
Cochran now with the 2-2. Pitch from Rummery. Check swing and called for a ball. And that will bring the count full. Cochran just able to stay away from the strike that time.
Yeah, and correctly so. That call made by the first base umpire, I should say. Good job there by Cochran.
Here we go. Payoff pitch with 1 out. Rummery fires it in. Cochran lifts it and fouls it. Count's going to stay at 3-2. Cochran doing what he can to stay up at the plate, kind of reminiscent of what we saw Kyle McCausland do in his 4th inning at bat.
So I think I know. I'm trying to figure this out because Wyatt Halverson definitely did not get 10 strikeouts in between Monday and now.
3-2, and that's going to be ball 4. Great work by Ryan Cochran as he forces a full count walk. He's on to first base. Matsu with a runner aboard here in the top half of the 5th inning, and maybe that will spark things.
Yeah, the first walk issued by Rummery. He finally shows signs of perhaps fallibility, and Riker Scow going to try and make him pay for that. I think the culprit, as I was talking about before, the box score for June 6th's matchup between the Bucs and the Pilots, I think, just got entered a couple days ago. That had been absent for a long time, and apparently Wyatt Halverson had 10 strikeouts in that game, so he is now actually the strikeout king in the ABL, despite Monday's coronation of Jack Hostetler. He's still got a bit of ground to make up. You know what, though? Halverson, that 4.13 ERA, I think Hostetler has him beat in pretty much every other department.
Yeah, I think that Jack will take what he can in that situation. Going to be proud of what he's accomplished outside of the strikeout. He's been very solid and very effective at retiring batters. The most important thing for Matsu. 1-0 count. Scow trying to send Cochran on to second. This is going to be fouled back. Cochran was trying to steal second base. Count will be 1-1.
Yep, he was off and running, and once again we saw that jump was not great by him. Cochran does have 1 steal this season. He has not been caught.
Doesn't try it all that often, but has certainly looked at it here. The 1-1, outside for ball 2. Good take by Scow, letting it go by. One of the better guys when it comes to forcing walks. We've talked about that a lot, but Matsu certainly has a lot of players who are good at that. Scow has forced 10 on the season. That's been one of his keys to getting on base so often. The 2-1. Ball 3. High and outside.
As an aside, that caught stealing a couple innings ago by Drake Kerr was his third of the season, which leads the team. But with 16 successful steals, I think you'll take that. You know, the cardinal rule in at least Major League Baseball, if you're above 75%, you're helping your team. And Kerr is well north of that.
That he is. 3-1 count for Scow. And that is a strike. Scow had already flipped his bat. And boy, I don't know about that call.
Yeah, the crowd's certainly not happy with it. They've been vocal about this particular home plate umpire all day long. There have been a number of calls, as we mentioned earlier on in this game, that were a little bit questionable, and I think that one might take the cake right there.
It's like visiting Golden Corral afterwards. My God, it expands and contracts. Full count and a strikeout. So Scow goes from what looked like a walk and 2 runners on base for Matsu to a strikeout swinging and out number 2 in the top half of the 5th inning.
Yeah, that's his second K as well. First on a swinging strike, and Garvey Rummeroom now with 8. Father of Luke Smith in the chat. We know.
So Ryan Richard onto the plate. And these are sometimes the trials and tribulations that you can go through as a batter and as a baseball player in general. That one in the zone. Count goes to 0-1.
That one was about the exact same spot as the last pitch, so he's consistent at least.
Richard struck out looking his first time up on another pitch that we thought probably was not in the zone. This time it's going to be just outside for ball 1. But Matsu will tell you that even though you may not agree with the umpire calls, you've also got to make your own magic happen and try to find a way to overcome what you think are potential missed calls. As there was a pickoff attempted to first, Cochran able to get back quickly.
Richard wants to get this inning to Kerr, who had a single off of Rummery, one of just 2 hits the Miners have.
Rummery taking his time here. 1-1. Cochran thought about going, and this one will be fouled off by Richard. Count will be 1-2.
And again, the bat goes flying. Richard threw that all the way into the backstop. Luckily, nobody in the line of fire that time, but that's the second time this game we've seen a bat slip out of somebody's hands.
Yeah, once again, the grip or lack thereof could be making an impact on this game. Hasn't affected the defenses too much, but that could still pop up later. The 1-2. And that one is just outside. Ball number 2. Good work by Richard.
Yep, it's perilous waters, the strike zone right now. Every take takes a lot of guts, but that one was the right call. Rally Seagull.
Yep, there comes a seagull flying by. Maybe that's a good omen for Matsu. 2-2 to Richard. And that is going to be a throw on to second. Didn't even see Cochran, and he steals second base. Caught me off guard, and the catcher, Brody Briggs, is arguing with the home plate umpire about something.
Yeah, you weren't the only one who was caught off guard, and I think Brody Briggs is trying to argue that he took off a little bit late. Though I don't know on what grounds he would be arguing that, because that looked like a clean jump to me. Cochran has his second steal of the season.
So the count now at 3-2. Yeah, I just saw Cochran moving out of the corner of my eye, and it was relatively late, but still looked fair to me. And that's ball 4 and low. Richard's on to first. So the steal doesn't matter as much for Cochran, but Matsu still now with 2 runners on base, and now they do get it to Drake Kerr, who just legged out a single his last time up.
So 2 walks in the inning now for Rummery, and arguably nearly missed a third, we'll say. With Drake Kerr up for the 3rd time, a strikeout to start in the 1st, but a single last time out in the 3rd. He and Wilcox had 2 straight hits at the end of the 3rd inning and then the start of the 4th. The only 2 knocks so far by either side, but particularly against Rummery. And he and the catcher now are exchanging some words with the umpire. It does not look to be particularly amicable.
Looks like neither side is super happy with the calls of the umpires right now. Brody Briggs still arguing his point, it looks like. Either way, though, Drake Kerr is on to the plate. Motions maybe running a little bit high on both sides. This is a very crucial game, and both teams are right there on the verge of taking command, but Matsu is closer than anybody's been all day. However, there are 2 outs, and Drake Kerr is going to have to put this one into fair territory to have any chance to score a runner. Cochran at second, Richard at first.
And gamesmanship afoot.
Yeah, there's the gamesmanship, time called. This is Kerr's 3rd time up. He struck out swinging his first time.
And sorry to cut you off, but there is activity in the Bucs bullpen, so that is why I believe Garvey Rummery is taking as much time as he is.
Trying to make sure not to give up a game-losing mistake. Kerr swings and misses. Count goes to 0-1. Dug deep, but couldn't find anything.
Yeah, trying to avoid a mistake and also trying to make sure his warm-up is or his replacement, I should say, is able to warm up.
That as well. Don't want to fling him into the game with no prior warning. 0-1 count. Rummery in a way buying time, trying to bring this game to the bottom of the 5th. That will be ball 1.
Good take there by Kerr. Excellent at drawing walks, as pretty much everybody on this Matsu Miners team is, as you've seen this inning.
Curveball by Rummery can't find its mark that time. Now Kerr with the 1-1. Man who was just recently engaged, trying to make something happen. That is strike 2. Count goes to 1 ball and 2 strikes. It was a special moment for him over the weekend. One of those memories that you'll never forget, and he carries that with him now onto the baseball diamond.
Championship would be right up there with it.
Why not add another ring to the collection? Maybe Drake Kerr can do just that. The 1-2. And a swing and a miss. Kerr strikes out, and that will do it for the top half of the 5th inning. Matsu puts 2 runners aboard on walks, but they cannot cash in. The score is still 0-0 in this defensive game. We'll be right back for the bottom half of the 5th. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. Welcome back to Anchorage, Alaska. Dylan Simmons, Charlie Fellows on the call with you this evening. It is a 0-0 game between your Miners and the Anchorage Bucs. This is game number 27 of the regular season for Matsu, 13-13 record overall. Season is starting to wind down in this mid to late part of July, and Matsu's trying to rev up the engine.
We're sad to see the season wind down, but one thing I'm happy to see winding down right now is the rain. Does appear to have lessened a little bit in its strength, though who's to say how much of that is just wishful thinking on my part.
This is a ground ball by Brody Briggs up the middle. A diving attempt by Cochran is going to come up fruitless. It'll be a leadoff single for Briggs, the catcher, to start things off in the bottom of the 5th.
So the no-hit bid by Tucker Timmerman goes 4 innings, but Briggs, who nearly forced to hit his first time up, he drew a walk back in the 2nd inning against Timmerman, so he's had his number.
Props to Cochran on that one. He really laid out trying to make a play on it. Probably wasn't a chance at it, but he still put in his maximum effort And you love to see that. But now the Bucs with a runner aboard in Brody Briggs. That will send on Josh Hankins. Timmerman still on the mound. That's his first hit that he's given up in this game. So any no-hitter is gone. Here's a liner into left. That's going to sit down in front of Scow for a base hit. Runners on first and second for the Bucs. Back-to-back singles here in the bottom half of the fifth inning.
Yeah, not what you want to see if you're Tucker Timmerman. You were cruising so well, and now 2 rockets you've given up in almost as many pitches. That'll prompt a mound conference. To answer your question in the chat, Mr. Gray Wolf, we are truthfully not aware if there is a rule against the delayed steal. We were only speculating on that because the catcher and the pitcher both seem to believe that there was. They seem to be upset about something. And Dylan, I don't know if you have any knowledge that you can fill in on that, but it looked to me like he just got a good jump and went the rest of the way.
Well, what I will say in that situation is that I wasn't watching Cochran as much. I was trying to keep an eye on him, but then obviously the pitch was starting to come in. It was very, very close in that spot, and I definitely understand both sides of the argument. I would probably honestly want to look at a replay, go back and see what happens, as we see a bunt being shown here, and the pitch goes by him for a strike. Good work by Timmerman as he's taking on Zane Kelly.
Yeah, it's always embarrassing when that happens. The ball misses your bat, but it's still a strike. We saw a bunt-related gaffe back on Monday that almost boggled the mind.
Yeah, it ended up being a strikeout.
The ultra-rare bunt strikeout, I believe it was Adam Enyart in a pinch-hitting appearance for the Bucs. He fouled off strike 3, trying to bunt. Assume we lost track of the count. So bewildering that we didn't even immediately notice what had happened.
Something that you can't do, though, obviously, in that situation, and it, you could argue, cost the Bucs a chance at tying the game.
Absolutely did. They had 2 base runners at the time.
0-2 count now. Bunt shown and laid down. Timmerman picks it up. He throws on to third, and it got there in time. Boy, just able to beat out Brody Briggs, and that is out number 1 in the bottom of the fifth. That was razor close.
So we saw a couple of very gutsy decisions there. First off, Zane Kelly bunted with 2 strikes right after we said that you can't do it. He did it, and he laid one down fair. Timmerman got it, and the split-second decision he made to try and throw out the lead runner got it to Dom Patrizi just in time, and a massive play by him to try and get out of this inning.
There was an uproar from the Bucs dugout. They did not agree with that call, but Timmerman will take it after Matsu's had some calls go against them. It's good fortune to finally have one go your way, and that was certainly a heck of an effort by Timmerman. Got to give him credit. That was gutsy, and he made it work.
Zane Kelly got to first on the fielder's choice. Hankins got to second, but a big conversion.
So Will Burns now at the plate. Count goes to 0-2 after a swing and a miss. And like you just mentioned, Kelly at first, Josh Hankins at second, and Brody Briggs out after he was taken away on that Timmerman throw. Here's a ground ball fouled to the left of the third base bag to keep the count at 0-2.
Miners lucky that stayed to the left side. Burns with a ground out and a sacrifice bunt so far today. He and Carlone are 0 for 4. The inning will get to Carlone, barring a double play, so Timmerman's got to be prepared for that.
Trying to strike out Burns for the first time in this game is Timmerman. It would be huge, especially with one out. Fastball, swing and a miss. He got him. Tucker Timmerman gets the strikeout we were just calling for. Tucker Timmerman answering the call.
Yeah, he's got 3 Ks so far today, dwarfed by the 9 on the side of Garvey Rummery, but his, I would say, have arguably been in more important spots. He's allowed a base runner in almost every inning, 2 now on the base paths right now, and to get that out, make it so there's 2 away for Cole Carlone. He has to put one in play. He can't just fly out and advance the runners. Just pivotal to try and escape this inning with no damage.
Well, here is Timmerman's biggest test since the ACT, as that's going to be a ground ball right side picked up by Wilcox. One of the easiest outs you'll see, an unassisted out at first base, and Matsu keeps the score at 0-0. Heck of an inning by Tucker Timmerman and the Matsu defense, and that throw to third to prevent Brody Briggs from getting onto the hot corner is going to be crucial throughout the rest of this game. Score still tied. We'll be back for the top half of the 6th inning. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. Welcome back to Mulcahy Stadium in Anchorage, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. New pitcher on the mound for the Bucs in this 0-0 ball game. It is Adam Enyart.
Yeah, safe to say Adam Enyart, a sprinter, not a distance runner. He has appeared in 6 games for the Bucs, but has just 6 2/3 innings pitched for Anchorage so far this season. He is the closer, it does appear, because he has 2 saves, at least one of the closers, along with Brody Purcell. For the Bucs this season, he's allowed 4 hits, 2 earned runs across those 6 innings for a 2.70 ERA. He has not been infallible this season, and I believe he has appeared once against the Miners on the mound, maybe during that 10-9 game early on in the season. The bullpen for Anchorage looks a lot different now than it did then, but he has proven his ability to come in and pitch, single innings at a time, but we'll see how he does. It's only the 6th inning, so he might have to go 2 or 3 here, especially with the score still tied up at 0 as it is. So this will be a chance for Matsu.
Sophomore from Bakersfield, California, and my NASCAR fans will like this, the same hometown as Kevin Harvick. Now we'll see Chase Wilcox come to the plate, followed by Kyle McCausland and Christian Perez, 2-3-4. This is a foul ball towards left. Count goes to 0-1.
So with Garvey Rummery done through 5 innings, he had 9 strikeouts, 2 walks, 2 hits, and a hit by pitch. Did not allow a run, though came very close to doing so in the 5th, which is, we suspect, why he was lifted.
Matsu had 2 runners aboard. This is another foul ball, about the same style from Chase Wilcox. Count goes to 0-2.
And he's been the one man that has given the pitchers for the Bucs today some significant trouble. A hit by pitch in the 1st and a single back in the 4th.
Yeah, he's gotten on base both times up. Trying to get on base for a 3rd time. Here's a ground ball to short. Picked up by Byrne. Thrown on to first. And a 6-3 putout. Just got it there in time. And taken up from the turf by Tommy Eisenstadt. 1 down.
Yeah, Wilcox gave it his all there. Nearly legged it out, but he did not. Perhaps getting a little bit of an assist there by the wet turf. That's going to slow the ball down as it rolls. But still, it was not enough. So Kyle McCausland, along with Perez, a combined 0 of 4 today. Both of them hoping to snap that, as well as the overall slumps they've been in. We know both those guys are very capable hitters.
Well, I'll tell you what, you've got to give credit to the Matsu defense and the pitching staff over these last 2 games against the Bucs. They've taken the top offense and basically shut them down so far. It's been incredible to watch over these last 15 innings. High fly ball to left. Boy, that had the distance, it had the height, but it didn't have the direction.
Oh, that would have been onto the soccer field. There's a goalpost there. I don't know if you can make that out on the camera, but I think you get 3 runs if you hit a ball through that. I think those are the rules.
Swing and a miss. Count goes to 1-2. That'd be a heck of a turnaround in this game.
It's a field goal, right?
I think so. Yeah, it's a field goal in football. Get it through the goalpost, and it's 3 points for you. Not sure how that translates to baseball, but it's going to be a fastball for a strikeout here as McCausland just has to let it go by. And frustrating start for Matsu here in the top of the 6th. 2 down already.
Yeah, that's his 2nd K now, 10th overall for the Miners, and another one that looked pretty high. That one definitely closer to the zone than some others we've seen. McCausland ruining that. Here's Perez.
Another potential home run hitter for Matsu. He does have a homer on the year. Swings and misses at this pitch. Count goes to 0-1.
Matsu, we talked about it on Monday. This is the only ballpark that they have not hit a home run at.
And another swing and a miss on a curveball by Perez this time.
Yeah, he and McCausland both, I think, are just trying to make something stick. Swinging at everything they can, and hasn't worked.
This is inside, but in for a strike. And another call that I'm not so sure about, and I don't think Perez is either as he is talking to the home plate umpire about it. Things are just not going the way of the Matsu offense as of late. That'll bring us to the bottom half of the 6th inning. Matsu held scoreless in 1-2-3. We'll be right back after the break. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube. Welcome back to Anchorage, Alaska. Dylan Simmons, Charlie Fellows on the call. Tucker Timmerman still on the mound for Matsu, and he has had another phenomenal performance tonight against the Anchorage Bucs, but the job is not done yet. He will be facing off against Andrew Lamb to start things off in the bottom half of the 6th inning, followed by Ryan Callahan and Tommy Eisenstadt, 3-4-5. Hasn't been the most effective strikeout night for him. He's got 3, but he has been able to hold the Bucs at bay regardless.
That high outside corner has consistently been a strike all night, and Andrew Lamb falls victim to it. A walk in the first, line out in the third.
This is a ground ball to second, picked up, thrown on to first in time. Good work by Richard for a 4-3, and that's 1 down.
Now we enter the 4-5-6 hole. Callahan, Eisenstadt, Knowles, a combined 0 of 6. Callahan with a pair of groundouts. Timmerman has had his way with this part of the order. In fact, that one Lamb walk is the only time any batter above 7th in this order has made it on base all game.
This is a new season high in innings pitched for Tucker Timmerman. His previous season high was 5, which he had had multiple times. Count goes to 1-0 here against Callahan. This is his first time pitching in the 6th inning.
He's absolutely cruising, too. The rain has once again picked up a little bit in volume, but even when it was coming down in sheets like it was earlier in this game, he was doing his best.
The 1-1, breaking ball, finds the zone. Count goes to 1-2.
Hyperbole is implied there. It wasn't actually coming down quite that hard because we are still playing a baseball game.
And that is going to get behind the catcher Durand onto first. Here's the throw. It's not going to be into Wilcox in time, and safe at first base will be Callahan.
Yeah, that one was unfortunate. Durand had a long run to get that. There might have been a chance for him to throw him out, but he was throwing off his back foot, throw he's not used to making, and he missed wide by about 3 feet. Wilcox had to leave the bag, so a strikeout base runner, Ryan Callahan, now 0 for 3, but still gets a trip to first anyway.
So Eisenstadt now at the plate for the Bucs. And Anchorage getting a much-needed base runner. This is a ground ball right side that goes past the diving Wilcox. Now safe at first and second for the Bucs are Callahan and Eisenstadt with 1 out.
And again, I think that strikeout really ended up hurting the Miners right there because Callahan was standing right there, right in the path of that ball, and I think it might have been possible. It still would have been a very difficult play, but Wilcox might have been able to get his glove on that and potentially at least gotten the first out or the force out at first if he hadn't been impeded a little bit by the base runner. So now 2 base runners with 1 out for the second straight inning. You'd have to imagine Timmerman probably will not pitch beyond the end of this inning.
There is action in the Matsu bullpen now. Peyton Knowles to the plate as he fouls one off. Count goes to 0-1. He has flown out to left his previous 2 at-bats.
Had a really deep fly out back in the 4th that I was worried about at first. I think if the rain had not been as hard, might have had a chance.
Timmerman trying to recover here and hold the Bucs at bay as he's done all evening long. 0-1. Here's another ground ball right side into the glove of Richard. Underhand toss to Wilcox. Got him. Out 2. That will advance runners to second and third for the Bucs, but a heads-up play by Ryan Richard. Great work to pick up that baseball from the turf.
Yeah, once again, a great play. The underhand toss there by Richard. He was running so quickly, didn't want to risk it, so he threw it high. Wilcox had to stretch, and it's impossible to overstate how great that play was. The Miners, this might be their best infield defense I've seen all game for them, keeping them in it, and if Timmerman can get out of this, Brody Briggs has had his number so far today, but if he can retire him and keep the Bucs off the board, that would be the story of this game.
That pitch is low for ball 1 in the turf that time. This is the closest the Bucs have been to scoring in this game. Timmerman knowing that, understanding the situation. Neither side has scored a run all game long. It's been all about which defense and which pitching on either side can last the longest. That's a curveball in there for a strike. Count goes to 1-1.
And the rain really starting to pick up now. You can see it, the drops coming past on the camera. We can see it in the dark trees that it has really picked up these last couple minutes.
Could make life hard on both sides. But Timmerman is still firing in strikes. Count goes to 1-2.
Yeah, Timmerman saw what happened last inning and is like, if I can throw a pitch high and maybe in the general vicinity of the strike zone, I'm going to get those calls. And he has gotten them a couple times in this inning.
Got a chance at an inning-ending strikeout right here. Let's see if he can finish it off. This is fouled off, and the count goes, and rather stays at 1-2 for Brody Briggs.
Briggs with a walk and a single. He had the first hit off of Timmerman back in the 5th. Later got around to second, was thrown out at third. That heads-up play by Timmerman.
So here we go. The 1-2, going to try it again. Brody Briggs trying to get his second hit of the game. Timmerman looking for something else. This is just fouled by Briggs. Into the net it goes. Count stays at 1-2.
And I do feel like it does bear mentioning that, of course, we are through 5. We're in the bottom of the 6th right now. So if this rain keeps getting harder and the game gets called, I'm not sure what would happen. I'll be honest.
We'll see if it gets to that point. We've been playing through conditions like these all evening long, and they may play to the end as time's going to be called here momentarily.
I mean, what happens in MLB when a game gets called due to rain and it's tied past the 5th inning? Does it still just count as a rainout?
Usually that would be a situation where you would pick it up later on and finish the innings you didn't play. Count goes to 1-2, and that's low for ball number 2. Hopefully we don't have that kind of situation here.
Of course, if the game stays tied and we head to extra innings, every Miners fan is well-versed in what happens next, but we're hoping it won't get to that point.
It's going to come down to which of these offenses can awaken first. The 2-2, Timmerman will watch this one be chopped foul by Briggs towards the Miners' dugout, and this chess match continues.
Rainy chess.
Yeah, rainy chess. These two players are giving all they can handle to the other.
Need Drew Cannon out here.
Yeah, he would be great in this kind of situation.
Chess
Timmerman
master.
trying to look for checkmate. This is another foul ball by Briggs. And again, the at-bat continues.
This is really, I think, going to be a deciding at-bat here. Because if Briggs draws a walk, Josh Hankins also had a single back in the 5th. Keeps the inning going. Timmerman clearly running out of gas.
He's unquestionably been the batter that's given Timmerman the most trouble. And that's ball 3. And again, the Miners are left stunned. They were already making their way off the field towards the dugout. And instead, the home plate umpire ruled that as ball 3.
Let that involuntary squeaking sound I made speak for itself.
I think that spoke louder than anything else you could have said. 3-2. Come on, Tucker. And that's low for ball 4. Bases juiced for the Bucs. So a chance at a strikeout goes away, and the inning continues. And now the Bucs even in an even more advantageous position. That'll send on Josh Hankins.
So it looks like pitching coach Steve Hecker is going to ride this one out with Tucker Timmerman. I thought maybe there might be a pitching change. Well, no, here comes, well, this is Hecker, so they're just going to talk strategy. There is action up in the bullpen.
See Luke Smith over there.
That is number 25, Luke Smith. So he will be coming into the game, we presume, in the 7th. To his father in the YouTube chat's delight, I'm sure.
We're hoping that he comes in with the score either tied at 0-0 or Matsu in the lead.
So it was a strikeout that Ryan Callahan reached base on as the ball got away from Durand. Eisenstadt had a single and now a walk to bring up Josh Hankins, who hit into a fielder's choice to end the 2nd inning and singled back in the 4th. The third baseman with a chance to blow this thing open. Tucker Timmerman in dire straits, but this would be one to remember. If he could weasel his way out of this, keep the best offense in the ABL shut out now for almost 2 entire games, dating back to Monday and previously.
It is a very hard task to accomplish, but Matsu has been up to the plate time and time again, and now Timmerman looking for that elusive third out in the bottom half of the 6th. Fastball, swing and a miss. Count goes to 0-1. Beautiful fastball by Timmerman.
Now, if Callahan does score, that run would not be earned, of course. He reached on that pass ball strikeout, but those are the least of Timmerman's worries.
Any run that can be scored for the Bucs is going to be huge for them, and for the course of the game at this point, feels like it may only take one run. The 0-1 count, and this pitch is outside for ball one. Tried to fit in the breaking ball and could not.
Goes without saying, Brandon Durand, one of many players on the Miners defense right now, walking a very fine line, keeping that ball in front of him with the rain pouring down.
1-1 pitch, finds the zone, 1-2. Great work by Timmerman. He's one strike away from ending the sixth.
He's got Hankins right where he wants him.
One of the biggest pitches of the season potentially for the Mat-Su Miners and Tucker Timmerman right here. The 1-2. This is a foul ball. It'll land somewhere in the concourse. Count stays the same at 1-2. The Miners trying to hand the Bucs back-to-back losses at Mulcahy Stadium. Nobody has been able to beat the Bucs in 2 consecutive home games, but Mat-Su is trying to do that here this evening. And if it's going to happen, it'll be on the back of this performance from Tucker Timmerman, as time is called once again.
This game, ever since we got to the 5-inning minimum, has slowed down considerably, which we are not complaining. It's the most thrilling 0-0 matchup I've seen in a while.
The 1-2. And that's low for ball number 2. You saw that Hankins decided to lay off that time. A little bit low by Timmerman. Remember, he has 4 total strikeouts in this game. This would be number 5. And would be maybe the most important one of the season for him and maybe the Miners. The 2-2. Got it! Tucker Timmerman strikes him out. What a huge K to end the 6th inning. Answering the call one more time. That'll bring us on to the top half of the 7th inning with the score still tied at 0-0. A monumental strikeout for Timmerman with the bases loaded. We'll be right back to Anchorage. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. Welcome back to Anchorage, Alaska. Dylan Simmons, Charlie Fellows on the call. It is the top half of the 7th inning, and your Miners are in another heated battle with the Anchorage Bucs. Score is tied at 0-0. It has been a defensive slugfest between these two teams, not just in this game, but the last 2 games. A combined 1-run score between these two opponents in 15 innings as we head into the 16th in the last 2.
And that run was in the top of the 1st of that game on Monday, so it has been a lot of scoreless action at Mulcahy. Don Patrizzi at the bat, a strikeout, a flyout today. He's had a number of great plays with the glove.
Brandon Durand back behind him on deck. That's a strike. Count goes to 1-1.
Trying to translate that to his batting.
And
as the Miners scrap and claw for any advantage they can get.
Showing bunt for a second, pulls back. That's a strike. Count goes to 1-2. And remember, he had the lone RBI for Matsu in that game on Monday. Could he make the difference once again? The 1-2, swing and a miss, struck him out. Patrizzi down on strikes. Enyart with a K to start things off in the top half of the 7th.
Yeah, that's 3 straight Ks for him dating back to the 6th, and now 11 in total, actually 12 total for the Anchorage Bucs after the 9 pitched by Rummery. 2 of those belong to Brandon Durand.
Now Durand at the plate for the first time against Enyart. 1 out. Matsu has 2 total hits in this game to the Bucs 3. But the score is still all the same. 0-0. That one comes in for a strike. 0-1 on the high fastball.
And Durand was actually given an error in that previous inning on that strikeout, which...
Here's a ground ball to short. It screamed right to Burns, but he's able to pick it up and get it on to first for a 6-3 putout, and 2 away in the top of the 7th.
Yeah, unfortunate there. That was hit a little bit too hard right at Will Burns. He's had a lot of action over there at short, and he hasn't messed anything up yet. The Miners do not have a hit since Chase Wilcox's single to lead off the 4th inning. Of course, they drew a pair of walks back in the 5th, but since that moment, they have not really gotten much of anything going.
So now that sends on Ryan Cochran, who reached on a walk his last time up. Lets this go by for ball number 1, that coming in the 5th inning.
Yeah, that 5th inning one, the Miners will be kicking themselves over.
The 1-0 count. It's been, you could argue, missed opportunities on both sides offensively, especially for the Bucs in that 6th inning. Bases loaded and you get nobody home. But that's a testament to just how good the pitching and the defense has been on both sides. 2-0, this is a ground ball to third. Picked up and thrown to first in time for a 5-3 putout. Hankins and Eisenstadt. That brings us to the 7th inning stretch, and Matsu still held scoreless. This game just continues to go back and forth. We'll be right back for the bottom half of the 7th inning. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball right here on YouTube. Welcome back to Anchorage, Alaska. Dylan Simmons and Charlie Fellows on the call. It's the bottom half of the 7th inning between your Miners and the Anchorage Bucs. And for the first time in this game, somebody other than Tucker Timmerman takes the mound for Matsu. It's Luke Smith.
Luke Smith, his 9th appearance of the season, 2nd on the team behind only the closer Drew Kennan. He has got a 3.97 ERA in 11 1/3 innings, 15 hits allowed, 8 runs, though just 5 of them earned, and 12 strikeouts for the man out of Sam Houston State, trying to keep this a scoreless tie.
Luke Smith, the incarnate word product for Matsu.
Pardon me, incarnate word, wrong Texas school.
No problem whatsoever. A lot of Texas presence on this Matsu team, as we've talked about many times. And now we'll see if Luke Smith will have the final word in this game for Matsu. As we approach the bottom half of the 7th inning, Miners tied with the Bucs 0-0. If you're just joining us, it has been, like I've said before, a defensive slugfest. Both sides getting opportunities to get on base and potentially score runs, but neither one able to come through with these defenses and these pitchers making clutch plays time and time again. The situational awareness and delivery has been off the charts.
And Tucker Timmerman's day, he allows 3 hits, strikes out 5, walks 4, does not allow a run, and ended his day by leaving the bases loaded with a strikeout back in the 6th. A lot of momentum for these pitchers.
One of the biggest strikeouts we've seen, as Smith will watch this one be fouled off by Zane Kelly. Count goes to 0-1. And now we'll see if anything changes for the Bucs with a new pitcher on the mound. Luke Smith has been getting better and better throughout the course of the season, and as a reliever, he's been a very solid option as of late. That one bounces off of the turf. Count goes to 1-1 strike.
Kelly 0 for 1, a fielder's choice, also drawn a walk. Made it to second in the third. He has hit a home run against the Miners, the deciding run in that 10-9 game.
And a swing and a miss here. Count goes to 1-2. Great fastball by Smith. Remember, what's at stake in this game? Matsu looking to get to 14-13, back over 500, win their second straight game, and hand the Bucs back-to-back home losses for the first time this season. That is a strikeout for Luke Smith to lead things off in the bottom half of the seventh. How about that for an entrance?
Couldn't have asked for anything better. Zane Kelly, a dangerous hitter, but he goes down, and it brings up the top of the order, which honestly have not been super impressive so far today. Will Burns 0 for 3, Cole Carlone 0 for 3.
Yeah, and on paper, they've been the most impressive batters for the Bucs this season, but like you mentioned today, they just haven't had the same sizzle. Smith hoping to keep it that way. That's a curveball low for ball 1.
It's hard to get much sizzle at all with all the water coming down from the sky. Though the folks at the concession stand are doing their best. I had a great burger before this game.
1-0 count from Smith. Let's see what he can cook up. Gets the strike. Count goes to 1-1.
Burns a ground out, a sac bunt, and a swinging K. So he's actually 0 for 2.
Smith again. Here's a ground ball right side. Right to Richard. Underhand toss, and he didn't get it there in time.
Yeah, that was a bobble by Richard. You could tell immediately that I was just going to barely be safe. And the defensive masterclass takes a brief recess as Richard commits the error to give Will Burns a spot at first base with one away.
So Will Burns on to first, and that is a tough break for Ryan Richard and the Miners. And that'll send on Cole Carlone. I didn't even notice the bobble the first time up, but it was a huge, huge problem for Matsu in that spot as that's a strike. Count goes to 0-1.
Yeah, it looks like they gave him a hit for that, so he definitely did bobble it. I think that should have been an error, but we will certainly take it. Ryan will take it.
So that's going to be hit number 4 for the Bucs. This pitch is low for ball 1. It's definitely one of those borderline things, and we've seen a little bit of that throughout this game. The most important thing for Anchorage, though, is they have a runner on first, and Matsu has got to be aware of that. And Luke Smith will have to be ready for him to try to advance base. That is ball 2, a little bit low. Tried to paint the outside corner that time.
A little bit of lefty-on-lefty action here. Smith and Carlone. The latter 0 for 3, a ground out, a strikeout, and another ground out.
Carlone has been frustrated in these last 2 games against Matsu. Arguably the best batter in the ABL, maybe the best overall player. But he can't find any traction as of late. And that's ball 3.
Yeah, the Miners not getting these calls with those looping curves. They're so often able to paint the corner of the strike zone. This time, maybe it's the rain, just a little bit flatter than normal.
How does Smith adjust? 3-1. Here's a ground ball. Richard dives for it, got to it, but everyone is going to be safe. Richard slams the ground in frustration. He tried to get it to Cochran, he did, but he couldn't get it in time to take out Will Burns.
Yeah, that one definitely, I feel bad for him on that. He made a nice diving stop, but couldn't do anything with it. I think he had a little bit of a brain fart just as he was looking around. Where should I throw this? What's the out? Maybe couldn't get it out of his glove, I don't know, but the end of the story, he was not able to get that out, so it'll be 2 straight singles allowed by Smith with 1 out. Pitching coach Steve Hecker on to talk with him as Andrew Lamb comes up to the plate.
Coach Hecker trying to make sure that everything is right with Luke Smith and with this Matsu defense. Richard did everything he could in that spot, but I think you're right. That brief moment of hesitation cost him a chance to potentially take out Burns. It's a tough break for the Miners, and all of a sudden the Bucs are in another solid spot with runners on first and second. We saw Matsu climb themselves out of this hole before with Tucker Timmerman, but now we'll have to see if Luke Smith can replicate that success.
Lamb has walked Also lined out and grounded out today.
That walk was in his very first at-bat of the game. So far, 0 for 2 on the game, as you mentioned. Trying to see if he can help the Bucs to score the first run overall here this evening.
To answer your question in the chat, there is a flag, but there is no wind. And the rain making it very heavy, so it is not currently flying. It's off to the left side.
Count goes to 0-1. Glad to hear from everybody in the chat tonight. Very active chat. Love to see it. And we don't blame you. It's a very intense game, and there's a lot to be talking about. Here's a ground ball left side. One out. Throw to first is going to be in time. What a double play by Dom Patrizzi to take out two. One of the biggest double plays of the year for the Miners. They turn the situation on its head once again and leave the Bucs frustrated. That'll bring us to the top half of the 8th inning. What a thrilling 0-0 ball game, and Charlie Fellows will take you the rest of the way home to see its conclusion. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back on Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube.
To the 8th inning under the rainy Alaska sky in Anchorage. The Bucs and the Miners still knotted up at 0. This game is going to come down to the wire no matter which way it goes, so you won't want to go anywhere. Charlie Fellows, Dylan Simmons, happy to bring this game to you all. As leading off this 8th inning will be Riker Scow with a hot shot to short, and he will not be able to outrun it. So 1 pitch, 1 out, and that will be the first out in the 8th. Adam Enyart still on the mound for the Bucs. He's trying to go for his 3rd straight inning, which is by far the longest appearance of the season for him if he's able to. But so far he has thrown 2 1/3 perfect innings. So no real reason for the Bucs managers and coaching staff to think otherwise, as he'll pitch now to Ryan Richard, who shows bunt. That gets through Brody Briggs. Second baseman out of Louisiana, a walk and a strikeout today.
And we've said it before, but who's going to break through first? Every time we think that a team's on the verge of scoring, they get turned away in this game.
That's a high fly ball, not too deep. Shallow left field, Burns under it, and another quick 2 outs. Adam Enyart going for a speed run record here.
I just can't get any traction right now. That was a good-looking ball off the bat, but it just sailed up in the air for way too long. Easy pop fly, and no problem for Will Burns to catch it. We'll see if Drake Kerr can change the narrative with 2 outs.
The Islander from Texas A&M Corpus Christi, a pair of strikeouts as well as a single today. He is one of the 2 Miners hits.
Got that in his second at-bat. Able to leg out a ground ball up the middle.
And he's quickly down 0-2. Both of those hits were in back-to-back plate appearances. Kerr ended that single, he had that single that ended the 3rd inning after he was caught stealing. And then Chase Wilcox, who's on deck, had a single of his own. That is a swing and a miss, or I think he just got a piece of it.
Just got a piece of it.
Brody Briggs was not able to get it in his glove. So Kerr survives to bat one more day, but Adam Enyart, a seldom used reliever who moonlights as a DH for this club as well, absolutely flummoxing these Miners hitters. That time Kerr lays off.
Yeah, this is easily the most innings he's pitched in a game all year long, and definitely his best overall appearance. But for the Miners, you almost feel as though at some point he's going to have to relent. Maybe Drake Kerr can force that.
1-2. Swing and a miss. Down on strikes he goes, and that inning could not have been longer than 2 minutes, maybe 90 seconds. Adam Enyart's certainly pleased with himself. A clap as he walks off. Probably going for that 4-inning save and looking like he might just be able to achieve that. Kerr goes down on strikes for the third time. We're heading to the bottom of the 8th. Both teams looking to score. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Bottom 8 at Mulcahy. Anchorage Bucs going to bat for what the Miners hope will be the second to last time, because that would mean Mat-Su can get a run in the top of the 9th. Before we go there, though, Callahan, Eisenstadt, and Knowles, the trio due up against Luke Smith, who allowed a pair of singles in that last inning, but an amazing defensive play that Dom Patrizzi can add to his highlight reel just from this game alone. Got him out of that jam. Strike one, a curveball. Callahan, who was 0 for 3, but reached on a strikeout back in the 6th, got all the way to 3rd, and was stranded there as the Bucs left the bases loaded. They've left multiple men on base 2 innings in a row, and Callahan 1 strike away from a similar fate.
You can feel the desperation on both sides really starting to ramp up as we approach the end game, so to speak. Approaching that 9th inning, and you can tell that these offenses are desperate to find something. They want to try to end this if at all possible.
High and tight. The rain continues to pour. Does not appear to be letting up anytime soon, but clearly the two teams have agreed that they are going to push on through it. Smith, 1-2. Right down the middle, he got him. Strike 3 for Luke Smith, his second K. And a big first out.
Great work by Luke Smith that time. Confident fastball right down the middle. And Callahan just got to look at it that time and watch it go by. Luke Smith answering the call early on and keeping Mat-Su afloat.
Here's Tommy Eisenstadt, who had a single back in that 6th inning. We see the view count has spiked the last couple innings. We're almost up to 60 now. That's lifted into center field. Drake Kerr back. Shouldn't be trouble. And the center fielder has it with ease, 2 away. As I was saying, though, tell all your friends, tell everyone you know, it's a big finish between the Miners and the Bucs. One of the most important games of the season for either team. As if all goes according to plan for both these squads, this is a preview of the ABL Top of the World Series Championship. Both teams auditioning for a role in that series. With 2 down, strike 1 comes in to Tommy Eisenstadt.
The confidence of Luke Smith just continuing to build in this situation, firing in a strike right there. His command is second to none right now. He is showing confidence that we have.
Weak bounding ball. Wilcox has it, steps on the bag, and unassisted third out. And another very quick frame. Luke Smith does what Adam Enyart did before him. That 8th inning in total, as far as baseball action, could not have been 5 minutes long. And we head to the 9th. This game is there for the taking for either side, and we hope it'll be the Miners. Top of the 9th coming right up. You're watching Mat-Su Miners Baseball on YouTube. Don't go anywhere. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for this game to be decided one way or another. In the next 2.5 innings, one team will leave this rain-soaked field in Anchorage, Alaska, a winner, and both of them need it very badly. Bucs and Miners knotted up at 0. The two best teams in the ABL as of late, possibly the two teams that will meet in the final championship round. But before we get there, the teams have to demonstrate they can beat each other, and neither side has given an inch so far here today. Adam Enyart didn't give an inch. He threw 3 literally perfect innings and notched 3 strikeouts in the process. No hits, walks, or base runners of any kind, but he is done, and Andrew Rudd on for a critical hold.
Yeah, Andrew Rudd has been a huge part of this Bucs pitching staff this year. The freshman out of Riverside, California, and Cal Baptist. 7 appearances, 17 2/3 innings pitched, 16 hits given up, but just 1 earned run, a 0.51 earned run average to go along with 13 strikeouts. He presents a significant roadblock for this Mat-Su offense.
It'll be Wilcox, McCausland, and Perez. 2, 3, and 4. The heart of the order for Mat-Su due up. Wilcox takes a low strike 1. The first baseman out of Missouri has been hit by a pitch and singled, also grounded out to short. And that one is right down the middle, but a little bit to the left. 1-1 the count on him. Below him, McCausland and Perez have both had rough games. They are a combined 0 of 6, but the Miners will need them to produce. 1-2 count now. Just a reminder, the extra innings rules in the ABL, if the game is tied after 9, it would go to the 10th, as you would expect, as that is lifted foul off to the left side. After that, though, the 10th inning gives way to a sudden death 11th frame, where the home team chooses whether or not they pitch or bat, but they always choose to pitch, because as the home team pitching in sudden death, all you need is 3 outs, and you win, even if the score remains tied. That one's outside. Good take by Wilcox, 2-2.
And this top part of the order for Mat-Su is going to have to find a way to deliver, if not now, then some point soon, if this game does indeed go into extra innings.
That's lifted into left center field, giving Chaser a pair of outfielders, and that's going to drop right into the glove of the left fielder, Callahan. I thought for a second it might be over their heads, but he covered a lot of ground in that rain-soaked outfield to make that first out. Wilcox perhaps just getting the bats warm for the men behind him.
And you know that traction is at a premium right now, so that is unfortunate for Mat-Su that Callahan was able to come over like that and make that catch. As you mentioned, he covered a lot of ground, but that just means that Kyle McCausland now gets his chance.
McCausland has struck out twice, rips one right to short. Will Burns has it in his glove, throws it on to first, and into the glove of the first baseman Eisenstadt. Thought he might have bobbled it for a second, but he held on. So McCausland goes down on 1 pitch, as he's done a few times so far today, and that will be Christian Perez, the man who is 0 for 3, a pop out, a fly out, and a strikeout. Patrizzi and Durand after him are also 0 for 3.
One thing I've noticed is that Mat-Su is making a lot more significant contact off of these pitches from Andrew Rudd, getting a little bit more spice on them, and that could help Christian Perez, who's been known throughout the season as a deep hitter.
Cut and a miss by Perez. If the Miners want to win this thing in regulation, they're going to have to do it right here, or at least take the lead, I should say. That one is outside. Perez, as he said, a threat to go yard in any plate appearance, even with the rut he's been in. 1-1 from Rudd is high. Perez, a future Sacramento State Hornet, transferring there from Grand Canyon U. Looking to give those Lopes fans something to be excited about. And another solid take, 3-1.
Yeah, he's brought it to 3-1. He's been very, very patient in this at-bat, not being over-aggressive against Rudd, trying to make the opportunity happen for him.
Big pitch here, and that's a swing and a miss. I think that went off of the catcher. That one went all the way to the backstop, so I don't know if the catcher mishandled that or if that might have been ball 4. But no use wondering about that now. A critical payoff pitch for Andrew Rudd.
Going to call time for just a second here.
Under the rainy Anchorage sky, the payoff pitch. And that's ball 4. Just low, Christian Perez reaches base for the first time today. He finesses a 2-out walk, and the Miners with a sliver of life in the top of the 9th with 2 down.
Great work and great discipline by Christian Perez in that situation. Watched that pitch come in low and didn't blink, didn't make that mistake, able to get on to first. And now you've got the ABL leader in runs batted in at the plate, Dom Patrizzi.
2 strikeouts and a flyout today for Dom. Spoils a first pitch foul. As you said, as good as anyone in the ABL at batting in runs, being in R's, you could say. 2 outs in the top of the 9th. You remember a couple games ago at Mulcahy, the Miners had the bases loaded and 2 outs in the top of the 9th against the Pilots. Ultimately could not pull that one out. That was a game that they trailed in the top of the 9th, so that literally was the end. But with the way this game is going and how the fact that sudden death finishes in the ABL are essentially just free wins for the home team, the Miners really need a spark here. Patrizzi lifts one into right, arcing foul, giving chases the right fielder, diving, but he can't make the play. Andrew Lamb gave it everything he had and got a jersey full of wet turf for his efforts. 0-2, the count on Patrizzi.
Yeah, that ball made me a little bit nervous off the bat, and Lamb was quickly trying to pursue it. He laid out, but he just couldn't get it in time. That thankfully dropped just into foul territory, helping Dom Patrizzi stay alive in this spot.
Still not a great spot for him. 0 for 2. 0-2, I should say. And Rudd fires in a strike. Down on 3 pitches goes Dom Patrizzi, and that will end the top of the 9th through his 3rd K of the afternoon. And the Anchorage Bucs now have the ball in their court. We head to the bottom of the 9th, where any run will walk the thing off. Looks like it'll be Luke Smith on to keep the effort going as both teams looking to extras and beyond. Matsu Miners Baseball will return. On to the bottom of the 9th at Mulcahy Stadium in Anchorage, Alaska. A thrilling conclusion awaiting all those who rally to watch this game. To anyone still up who is on the East Coast watching this game, shout out to you. We appreciate all of you, all 62 of you watching on wherever in the United States or anywhere else for that matter you might be watching from. Here in Anchorage, the stakes are high. Luke Smith on to pitch to the 7-8-9 order, Briggs, Hankins, and Kelly, to try and keep this game alive and get it to the 10th. A couple defensive changes we want to highlight. Nick Bisaccia in the game at 3rd. Dom Patrizzi gets kicked over to 2nd, and Ryan Richard off the field. So some lineup changes incoming as well, we assume. That pitch is low and outside by Smith to Brody Briggs.
Of course, that all hangs on whether or not Matsu can bring this game to the top half of the 10th inning. And that will rely on Luke Smith's ability to keep on doing what he's been doing.
Smith's been solid so far, but he's down 2-0 here. Briggs has reached base all 3 times he's batted, a pair of walks and a single.
He's been tough no matter what pitcher's been on the mound for Matsu today. Smith trying to
2-0, slap foul.
Keep him from getting back on base. Got a single and 2 walks so far, so he's been very disciplined at the plate, not over pursuing the ball and taking advantage of his opportunities. But Luke Smith has been very good at reading the batter today as well.
2-1 from the Texan. That does not find the corner of the zone. The rain is slowing just a bit, still coming down, but not quite as hard. It's hard to say how much that really matters at this point, considering the field is going to be soaked regardless. That is lined right at us, right at the window. Did not go in the press box this time, but it went right off the lip of the open window and bounced back onto the field. I'm curious to see how that one looked. I think it actually bounced onto the roof next to us.
It came off of the lamb. I think it went back into the field of play, but I thought for a second we were about to get another souvenir.
Yeah. Payoff pitch from Smith. In the zone for strike 3. Brody Briggs was throwing his bat away, but not so fast. The catcher retired for the first time today. And a big opening strikeout. Luke Smith has opened all 3 of his innings so far with a K.
The old Lee Corso special. Not so fast, my friend. What a strikeout from Luke Smith, and what an answer here in the bottom half of the 9th inning. You want to keep the Bucs from getting any kind of momentum, getting a spark, that's how you do it.
Josh Hankins has struck out, singled, and hit into a fielder's choice. He takes strike 1. Miners with no runs on 2 hits, also an error. Bucs with no runs on 5 hits. Right down the middle there for the incarnate word Cardinal, pitching to Josh Hankins.
Another great fastball. Luke Smith has really tightened it up. He's kind of targeting that top part of the zone, and the Bucs so far haven't been able to do anything with it.
Swing and a miss on a high pitch. 2 Ks for Luke Smith. The pitching has been stellar as ever. The Miners are still in this game, and the Anchorage Bucs, I really feel like it bears mentioning this team is the most unstoppable, consistently excellent offense in the ABL this season for at least the last 17 2/3 innings.
Yes.
They have gone
Scoreless.
0 runs, not even any unearned runs. 0.
No runs at all, and that speaks to just how strong this Matsu pitching staff is. We talked with Steve Hecker before the game. He said he believed in these guys. He never felt like he's got a bad option, and we're seeing the strength of that on display right now.
Here's a 2-0 to Zane Kelly. Luke Smith's up to 4 Ks now. His predecessor, Timmerman, had 5. Kelly has one of those. He's also walked and reached on a fielder's choice. Always a threat to go yard. Has done so against the Miners before. It was not a walk-off in the literal sense, but it ended up being a deciding factor in that game. 10-9. And how far we have strayed from that script here today. 2-1.
Another 3-1 now. We saw Smith overcome that against Brody Briggs. He's going to have to do it again, this time against Zane Kelly.
Hitters count for the number 9 man in the lineup. 2:03 coming into today, and he will take one low for ball 4. Luke Smith issues his first walk, and down to their last batter in regulation, the Bucs have a base runner for Will Burns.
Yeah, and Zane Kelly has been great at doing this all year long. That is his 18th walk force, which is the most on the team. And it looks like Ty LeBrun is going to make his way out of the dugout to, I believe, make a pitching change.
Yep, we've got someone coming in from the outfield trying to make out that number. Believe that is Ryan Harrahill, number 24. Although he did just pitch on Monday, so I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, we'll confirm all of that in just a moment. What a performance by Luke Smith as he makes his way back to the dugout.
That's number 34.
That is Harrahill then.
Harrahill, so he had an excellent inning in the Monday game, the win against the Anchorage Bucs, and he makes his second appearance in as many games in a no less dire situation.
Yeah, 2 outs, but I think the reason Ty LeBrun decided to make this call is he didn't want to risk it with a runner on base, and Luke Smith with a great performance, but you want to make sure you've got a fresh arm in.
Absolutely.
Do not want to risk it at this point in the game. You want to just make sure you can get it to the 10th, especially with you going back to the top of the order and Will Burns and Cole Carlone, who, despite not having a great performance today, by reputation, they've been great this season.
The righty Harrahill is in. Luke Smith, I do think we need to highlight that performance.
Yes.
For 3 innings out of the pen, allows a pair of hits, 4 strikeouts, all of them extremely important, and walks just 1, which he did a plate appearance ago. It'll be Will Burns, who had that single back in the 7th, 3 outs before that.
Harrahill with 6 appearances on the year entering this game. This will be his 7th. 14 1/3 innings pitched, 12 hits given up, 8 earned runs, 12 strikeouts, 5.02 earned run average.
But he has been better lately, as Luke Smith has been too. He had a pretty high ERA in the early goings of the season, but has gotten that down. And today, of course, that will get down even lower unless Harrahill somehow lets that runner on first come in to score. It'll be Burns and then Carlone. With 2 down in the bottom of the 9th, the game knotted up at 0. Any run by the Miners, by the Bucs, would end it here and now.
I would not want this to get to Cole Carlone. If I'm Ryan Harrihill, I'm doing everything I can to retire Will Burns. You do not want Cole Carlone with his deep hitting ability to get to the plate in this situation. Despite how quiet he's been today, I would rather avoid him if at all possible.
It's been a Nebraska show here today with Timmerman getting the start. Now Harrihill on in relief. He is throwing a few warm-up pitches. I mean, it's hard to overstate. We've said it a few times already today just how important this game is for both sides, but I would say more so for Matsu. You got that 1-0 win on Monday. That showed you that you could do it. Gave you the blueprint for beating this team. But to beat this team twice in a row at home and pitch the way you have and put the entire ABL on notice that the Bucs are beatable. They're not. You can go down and lose 3 games in Kenai. That'll happen to anybody. Trust me, we know. But this would be something else entirely. No team, as you mentioned before this season, has been able to come into the Bucs' house and do this to them. And even if the Miners do end up losing this game in extra innings or sudden death or what have you, it is definitely a wake-up call for them and a wake-up call for Matsu. You get some offense going. These are definitely winnable games, as that is hit in foul territory off the right side. McCausland giving chase, but no dice there. 1-1 to Will Burns.
One of the deepest shots we've seen today, though. That's a little nerve-wracking if you're a Matsu fan, but thankfully it just stayed away from right field. If you're Ryan Harrihill, you just got to make sure that that is not replicated in fair territory.
Here's the 1-1. Runner goes. That's lifted into shallow center field. Drake Kerr coming on, and he will make the catch. Done with regulation, 9 innings in the books, but we're going to need a little bit more than that to settle it. On to the 10th we go. You're watching Matsu Miners Baseball on YouTube, and see to it that you still are after this break. To extra innings for just the 3rd time this season. The Miners will play past the bottom of the 9th, and this is unlike any other game we have seen all season. It's been pouring rain all evening long in Anchorage, and it shows because these two teams are knotted up at 0. Brandon Duran will lead it off against Andrew Rudd as we are getting some free baseball here. Not that it costs a cent to tune into our live streams anyway. Duran tags this one to deep center field, going back on at Zane Kelly, and he will make the catch while backpedaling. That was an impressive defensive effort by Kelly. Once again, that's a second leadoff shot in as many innings that looked for a second as though it might get over his head, and especially Kelly, it didn't look quite like he had it in his sights, but located it at the last moment to rob Duran of a hit right there.
Yeah, as much as this pains me to say, that was a great adjustment by Zane Kelly in center field. And boy, Duran got a handle on that baseball for a second. It looked like it was heading for an extra base hit. Instead, it's just away and caught by Kelly. Another game-changing defensive play by the Bucs.
The Miners do not have a hit since the 4th inning. But this will be lined right at the shortstop, who stumbles but stays on his feet. And Will Burns, once again, how many times have I said his name tonight, hangs on and throws out Ryan Cochran. And once again, we have 2 outs in the 10th.
Boy, Will Burns able to keep his balance in that situation. I thought for a second, much like you, partner, that he wasn't going to be able to come up with that. He was able to locate that baseball, and unfortunately, it hurts Matsu once again. Another tough break.
Riker Scow will take one low. 2 strikeouts and a ground out today, with presumably a pinch hitter on deck if he is able to reach base, because Ryan Richard was
Nick
subbed out.
Bisaccia.
Yep,
will be coming
Bisaccia
up.
in the on-deck circle, hoping to get a chance to bat.
He came in on third base for Patrizzi, which moved Patrizzi to second, took out Richard.
If the Miners do not score here and they hold the Bucs scoreless, we assume they will bat in the 11th, that sudden death frame, with a chance to walk it off with a run. That's a line shot right down the left field line, but foul. The Miners would start that inning with a man on first, but they would still need to score in order to win, while the Bucs would only need 3 outs, and considering how they've been playing, that might not be too tall of an ask for the home team. Now Rudd wants a little bit of time. That was a hard hit ball by Scow.
That was a very hard hit ball. If that's a fair ball, it's probably going to be an extra base hit for him.
1-2 for Rudd, and that's low. Gutsy take for the BYU Cougar.
He's been very good at locating where pitches are in the zone or relative to it this year. Did that once again.
And again, the count is full. There was a 2-out walk in the bottom of the 9th, or the top of the 9th, I should say, with Perez getting to first.
Rudd trying to paint that outside corner with that looping curveball. Scow not fooled, bringing the count full.
Payoff pitch. A weak grounder, but foul.
Scow doing a great job right now of just keeping this at-bat alive, keeping the top of the 10th alive. He can potentially bring on Bisaccia and then maybe get it back to the top of the order if Bisaccia stays alive, which could be crucial for Matsu with Kerr and Wilcox waiting in the wings.
Owners of all 2 hits the Miners have this year, and that is hit number 3 on the evening. A single right up the middle by Riker Scow. A glimmer of life in the 10th inning will keep this frame alive and keep the dreams of a Matsu Miners win just barely beating.
What a masterful at-bat by Riker Scow in that situation. We talked about his ability to bring it full, to not over-pursue the baseball, and then the ground ball up the middle to get to first base. That is a clutch 2-out single if I've ever seen one. And now it's mainly up to Nick Bisaccia to see if Matsu can get a run here in the 10th inning.
Bisaccia will bat in place of Ryan Richard. Thought about going there to Scow. He is an excellent man on the base paths, but did not, as Bisaccia takes strike 1 out of Seton Hall. 212 on the year, 5 runs batted in. 0-1 from Rudd, and that once again will find the edge of the zone. So Nick Bisaccia down to his last strike, hoping to get this inning to Drake Kerr and beyond. As Riker Scow might have just ended a drought, the first hit for the Miners since the 4th. Can they do anything with it? Andrew Rudd was walking off the mound, but he'll have to throw one more.
We've seen that quite a bit tonight on both sides. Bisaccia with a 212 average on the year, a 305 on base percentage, 11 total hits and 52 at-bats coming into this one.
1-2. Just got a piece of it. Back into the concourse.
Matsu making life very hard on the pitcher Andrew Rudd right now. Just doing what they can to not relent, to not give up, maybe looking to even force him into a mistake. And they are certainly giving themselves a chance, and that's all you can say at this point.
The 1-2, he went around. Yes, he did. Strike 3 for the second straight frame. Andrew Rudd ends it with a K. And it looks like sudden death might be in our future, pending one more frame, the bottom of the 10th, to keep the Bucs from walking it off with their bats. Matsu Miners Baseball will return on YouTube. the bottom of the 10th we go. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for sticking with us through this game. We are pushing a very high time milestone here, coming up on 3 hours that we have been live. And one way or another, this game will end sooner rather than later, but it will be Ryan Harrihill to try and make sure that it will be a sudden death end. It'll be Cole Carlone, Andrew Lamb, Ryan Callahan. 2-3-4 for the Bucs. Their last gasp to try and win it with their bats before they presumably would try to win it with their pitches. Harrihill starts the terrifying lefty off with a ball.
Yeah, no batter's going to stress out a minor more than Cole Carlone or any team in the ABL for that matter. That home run ability always is deep inside, and you see Harrihill taking his time.
Low take 2-0. Carlone 1 for 4, a single in the 7th. Duo of groundouts and a strikeout. In this war of attrition, who will prevail? Harrihill leaves it outside for the 3rd straight time, and I can't say I blame him.
Yeah, you've got to be careful with Cole Carlone. I almost wonder if he won't mind taking the walk at this point in time. Just do not want to give up that precious walk-off home run.
3-0. And indeed, that will be a 4-pitch walk. Durand, the nice snag to get that ball in his glove. Not that it mattered. A leadoff walk for Carlone. That is the 6th overall issued by the Miners. First by Harrihill. And Matsu will have to pitch with a base runner to try and avoid losing in walk-off fashion for the first time this season.
It wasn't an intentional walk, but I'm sure it's one that Harrihill doesn't necessarily mind as much. You prevent Carlone from getting anything too crazy, and now you have Andrew Lamb coming up. If you get past Lamb, things look a lot brighter for you.
Lamb has made 3 straight outs, had that walk in the first, but since then has been quiet. Shows bunt on a high pitch. Harrihill still has not found the zone yet in this frame.
Yeah, he's going to have to tighten up that fastball, trying to elevate it, and he had success in the 9th, but just doesn't have the same command here. Hopefully he can fix that soon.
Again showing bunt. That time Durand was up and feigning to throw, keeping Cole Carlone honest on the base paths. And now the man from Somerset, Massachusetts will want to have a talk. Get things sorted. No more defensive substitutions to report. Bisaccia is still where he was. Dom Patrizzi over at second. He's had an incredible defensive game at the hot corner. Has not seen a ball hit his way so far on the right side.
You can tell the Bucs are not being as aggressive when it comes to their plate appearances in the 10th inning, trying to just take what Matsu will give them. And right now, Harrihill's giving them balls, so they are using that to their advantage. Harrihill's got to tighten up and throw some strikes here.
Bunt again, and again missing. So that will be 7 straight pitches outside the strike zone to begin this frame. Ryan Harrihill dangerously close to letting this game slip away. Another 3-0. Another bunt, and this time a strike.
Good work to fit that strike in, and you saw the bunt shown by Lamb. At this juncture, you understand why he would want to take that. Harrihill's going to have to anticipate that and be ready to chase after the baseball if Lamb does try to lay down that bunt. Got to be ready.
He does try, and he won't get a chance. That time a 5-pitch walk. 2 straight free passes issued by Ryan Harrihill to get men on first and second with none out in the 10th inning. This is by far the best chance the Bucs have had to make some damage happen here, and Steve Hecker is going to come out and talk with his pitcher Harrihill. Durand, as well as Nick Bisaccia coming in from third. In fact, the entire infield is going to come in for a bona fide mound conference. There is activity up in the bullpen for Matsu, and they're probably buying their time as much as they can get for whoever that is up in the pen.
Looks like it's Drew Kennan.
It is indeed. The closer. Wondered if they would go with him for the start of the 10th, but they stuck with Harrihill, and I can't blame him from doing that. He had retired 5 or 6 straight batters over his last few appearances coming into this inning, but in some serious trouble here. First and second, nobody out. The first time all game that the Bucs have gotten the leadoff man aboard. Now they've gotten their first 2.
Yeah, Harehill is just going to have to tighten up and get some strikes going here, especially against Callahan, a guy who hasn't been ultra successful in this game. You see the infield playing up.
Now he's showing a bunt, and he's going to roll one down. Bisaccia will throw to first and get the out. But the sac bunt does what it was designed to do. Carlone to third, Lamb to second. Callahan is 0 for 4, but he just put his team in a very prime position to walk this thing off. With second and third and 1 out, Ryan Harehill has got to pull something out here and fast.
That he does, and Matsu's infield has to be ready. Any play that you get is going to have to go to home plate, or at least make sure that you protect home plate. You do not have the opportunity to let a run score in this spot, so you're going to have to be very careful on defense, and you cannot afford any mistakes.
That's a foul chopper by Tommy Eisenstadt. A single in the 6th. Strikeout, ground out, fly out today. 1 for 4. The first baseman. With Peyton Knowles on deck, he's 0 for 4.
Bucs only need a sac fly in this situation as well.
Any ball that leaves the infield would almost certainly do it. 0-1. Stopped by Durand. And it goes without saying that every time he does that, the game continues. One more pitch thanks to him.
Yeah, that was a massive stop. If that gets past him, that's ball game. That could have easily scored Cole Carlone that time. That is a big stop by Brandon Durand, bringing the count to 1-1.
Ryan Harehill trying to escape. His 1-1. Again low. And again stopped. Playing with fire here is the Nebraska man.
And you wonder,
hoping the rain will put it out.
Yeah, and you wonder, will Ty LeBrun pull the plug if he feels that this is getting too out of hand and a runner gets on first in this spot?
First base is open, so intentional walk would not be the craziest thing here. That is fouled back. A big conversion there. The Miners fans, of which there are many here below us, getting loud.
This
Both
would be,
dugouts loud.
If you can get this second out, this would be absolutely huge. You're putting yourself in a much better position to win this game if you're Ryan Harehill and the Miners defense. But you got to get the second out.
2-2. He got him. Swing and a miss on a breaking ball. There have been a lot of great strikeouts so far today, but none bigger than that one right there. Ryan Harehill on the doorstep of escaping. And I gotta say, I think I heard a angry pounding on the wall from a couple rooms over. Imagine if I was a Bucs fan, or let's just say a Bucs broadcaster right now, I would not be thrilled with that.
But if you're a Miners fan, you are absolutely thrilled with that. Now Harehill looking to go right back to work.
Peyton Knowles is 0 for 4, and he fouls the first pitch back. 2 groundouts, 2 flyouts. Runners on second and third. And now he needs a hit. Sac fly won't do it.
Exactly, which makes this so much bigger for the Miners and a much easier thing to do. Just got to get that out any way you possibly can.
High. Laying off that was the second baseman Knowles, with Cole Carlone at third, Andrew Lamb at second, both recipients of walks in the first 2 batters of the inning. But Harehill has fought all the way back and is an out away from escaping. That will be low.
Trying that low pitch again. He was able to fool Tommy Eisenstadt with that strikeout and a few low pitches. Right now, though, Knowles laying off, trying to see if he can force back-to-back balls, and he does right there.
Drew Kennan, I imagine, has finished warming up by now, so if you get into trouble here, you might want to just maybe walk him intentionally and bring Kennan on to get that last out, but Harehill knows that he can do it himself. A 3-1 count here, though.
I think if the bases get loaded, they may consider going to Kennan, and that could be in the near future with the count at 3 balls and 1 strike. This is going to be massive for Harehill.
A hitter's count for the 0 for 4 Anchorage Buck with a chance to walk the thing off in his home ballpark. 3-1. Swing and a miss. He is one strike away from bringing us to sudden death.
Oh boy, fasten down the seatbelts. It's going to be one of the biggest payoff pitches of the season. And you can almost bet that Harry Hill's going to be looking for that fastball. It's going to be Will against Will right here against Peyton Knowles.
Knowles has not struck out yet today. The payoff pitch, ball 4. Harry Hill thought he had him, but that one was low, and I'm looking to the Miners' dugout to see if anyone is going to come out, and it does not appear as though they will.
Not yet, anyway. They're going to make sure to hold Kennan for the time being. But you know that if things get a little bit too hairy in this upcoming at-bat, they will probably consider going to him.
Well, you can't go to. You can't switch him in the middle of an at-bat. The bases are loaded. I'm not sure why you wouldn't go to him, because they're not going to be pitching again this game.
Yeah, fair point. That's right. So
they are rolling the dice with Harry Hill, who fouls the first one back for Brody Briggs, one of the most dangerous hitters so far in the lineup for Anchorage. A pair of walks and a single. Either of those would end this game. Harry Hill has come through when it's mattered most. That's on the ground to second. Fielded. On to first. The Miners escape by the skin of their teeth. It's Dom Patrizzi, only fitting. He moves to second base, but he does make that final defensive play, and it'll move us to the sudden death 11th, where we will tell you how things play out from there. We assume it will be the Bucs in the field, and we already can see that it will be in the field. You know what? We're not even going to kick it to a break. Dylan is going to have the play-by-play when this inning starts, but I think we need to stay on the air here and just talk through what needs to happen here for Matsu.
Yeah, let's clarify the rules in this sudden death inning for both sides. So obviously the Bucs are going to be the defensive team. Now here's what's going to happen. Matsu will start with a runner on first base. Rudd's going to be on the mound here for the Bucs. If Matsu can score a run, they win the game. But if the Bucs are able to hold the Miners from scoring a run, then they win the game. And it's whoever gets to that point first for their respective sides. So there's a reason it's called sudden death. This will determine the game. Whatever happens after this inning, we will have a winner. And it's going to be a very intense ending. I can almost promise you that.
It will be the top of the order. Kerr, Wilcox, McCausland due up. And don't know. We're going to have to check here. I'm not sure if the Bucs put on a new pitcher. That's number 11.
That is still Andrew Rudd.
So that is still Andrew Rudd. And I understand that. He did allow a walk and a single his last couple innings, but of course has been successful as Rummery and Enyart before him have been, of keeping men off the base paths.
So Kerr's going to be leading off for Matsu here. And like we said before, they should have a runner at first base, which in theory would be Nick Bisaccia.
Yep, they're going to
And
get him out there.
Yep,
Looks
there
like
he
he's
is.
getting ready to trot out there.
So Kerr in this game has struck out 3 times, but he does have a single, which he legged out in the 3rd inning. This will be his 5th at-bat of the game. 1 for 4 so far. Or 1 for 4. And now with a massive opportunity ahead of him to beat the Bucs in back-to-back games.
One unfortunate thing, consequence of the sudden death ending is Ryan Harrihill, if the Miners don't win, he will get a loss.
Yes.
For that appearance, despite not allowing a run. That happened to Drew Kennan, actually. He has not allowed an earned run all season, but he is still 0-1 because he lost that game down in Kenai. Our first introduction to the sudden death game. The Miners have played in now 3 of them. They are 0-2, and coincidentally, they have been the road team both times.
Kerr showing bunt. He lays it down. It's fouled just to the right of the first base line.
Yeah, I didn't even realize that, but this is definitely the guy you want to lead off your sudden death frame. Because if he can lay down even a half-decent bunt, that's just a free runner in scoring position, and Bisaccia can run.
He will almost certainly try it again here. The best bunter on the team and maybe in the Alaska Baseball League at the plate right now. Showing it. Pulls back, and you saw Briggs look at first base to see if he could do anything with Bisaccia. He could not. It's ball 1. It's a 1-1 count.
Good take by him there. You remember the Miners came very close in that Kenai game to winning. There was a controversial call that ended up taking...
Here's the bunt. It's popped up in the air and thankfully lands in foul territory with nobody making a catch. That was a nerve-wracking one.
That could have been disaster, too, because Bisaccia was running, and he might have been doubled off on that unless he had time to scamper back. We've seen pop-outs this season off of bunts, but definitely don't want to see that right here.
Man who just recently got engaged, Drake Kerr, we've talked about it a lot, a monumental moment in his life. Now maybe looking for a lifetime memory here in the ABL in this game. 1-2 count, bunt shown, he lays it down. Here's the throw from Briggs, and he's safe! Kerr is safe! He got there in time, and the Miners' dugout explodes. Runners on first and second. What a play!
So for the record, he wasn't safe, or he didn't beat the throw, but the first baseman Eisenstadt had to jump, and Eisenstadt was absolutely livid at that call. The umpires are going to talk about it, as well as the manager for the Anchorage Bucs. It looked to me like he did get his foot down on that bag just in time, but we really do not want to see another controversial overturned call in another extra innings sudden death scenario. So we're just going to roll with that.
Because he saw Bill Springman make his way out of the dugout to argue his case.
And
not happy with the call at all.
Talk, so this is, I don't like this.
This is going to be arguably the biggest call of the season for the Matsu Miners.
Unlike that first time where we were alluding to Riker Scow supposedly tagging too soon before a pop fly landed in an outfielder's glove and then getting doubled off, the umpires originally called him safe and then reversed it on the field. This one is a lot closer, and indeed
He's
they will
out.
call him out.
They're going to call him out and reverse the call.
Yep.
And Ty LeBrun is going to make his case. The Miners fans who've made the drive to Anchorage are livid.
I think that's the right call. It sucks, but I do think he was barely out. It did look like the first baseman got his foot on the bag just in time. He did have to jump, but I think he just barely beat that out. The throw did beat him.
Well, Ty LeBrun is obviously going to argue his case in this spot, and you can't blame him, trying to argue on the right of his player and trying to see if there's any way possible to get runners on first and second. It was very close. The call was made, and it looked like the Miners were going to be in prime position. They still have a runner on second regardless.
Right, that's the thing that we need to remember. There
Yes.
is a runner on scoring position anyway, and honestly, the runner, Drake Kerr, is irrelevant. He doesn't matter. Obviously, him being on the base paths as opposed to him being out matters a lot, but it doesn't matter. The only runner that matters here is Bisaccia. If he scores, the game's over. So having that runner in scoring position with one out, I still take that.
It's still not a bad situation at all, but you obviously prefer having more outs to work with.
For sure, definitely. Obviously, it was unfortunate. Ty LeBrun, not happy about it.
And he's still trying to make his case. He's not done talking to the umpires yet, and he might be on the verge of getting thrown out, and there he goes.
Yep, that is clearly what he was trying to do, trying to make a point. Both teams have been extremely aggravated by the umpiring today all game long. There have been a lot of questionable calls by the home plate umpire in particular, and Ty LeBrun definitely letting him know it as he walks off the field. That is his second ejection of the season.
And you can see him trying to get the players and the fans motivated. He will make his way back into the dugout. I don't believe that was an ejection. I think it was just the umpire maybe waving his hand a little bit.
It looked to me like it was. I mean, he made the signal for an ejection. You can't wave your arm like that.
And actually it was. I think you are right. My apologies. Couldn't tell. It was kind of an odd-looking ejection symbol from my vantage point. It wasn't a full-on out-of-here thing, but he is gone.
So he will also be gone for tomorrow's game against the Chinooks. That is the least of Matsu's concerns right now. A mound conference underway. It looks like they're going to hang with Rudd. No activity in the Bucs bullpen, so they are living and dying by the man. This is now his fourth inning of work. It was originally supposed to be a save.
Yes.
Now a marathon.
I thought for a second that LeBrun might be staying in because he went back to the dugout, but that was just to grab his belongings. Just had to get his luggage. But he is very much going to be watching this game in some capacity, maybe through this YouTube stream. So if you're tuning in soon, Coach,
this one's for you.
We hope that we can watch this team get a victory.
The crowd is loud. You can't see them, because they're in the shade, of course. The rain's still coming down.
Chase Wilcox at the plate. Bisaccia at second. He represents the winning run for Matsu. Wilcox will foul one off. It'll be an 0-1 count as it'll land in the bleachers.
And if the Miners get a base hit here, Bisaccia can run. He hasn't had many chances to steal bases this season because he hasn't been an everyday player for the Miners, but he's still got 5 of them and hasn't been caught, so he can steal, and he could potentially make it all the way home if Wilcox were to hit one into the outfield, which he's done already today.
The 0-1 count. Wilcox swings and misses. Count goes to 0-2. Tried to get the fastball. He could not.
With Kyle McCausland on deck, 2 dangerous hitters for the Miners, no matter how they've been playing today.
Chase does have a single in this game. He's also forced to hit by pitch. 0-2. Here is a liner into right that gets down for a base hit. Bisaccia coming around. It rolls all the way to the wall, and the Miners are going to win. They walk it off in Anchorage. Goodbye, Heartbreak City. Hello, Elation Avenue. Matsu has walked off the Bucs and beaten them in back-to-back games in an 11-inning marathon.
This is sudden death, Dylan, but I don't think I've ever felt more alive. What an ending. We've seen walk-offs this season, but none like that. The curse ends for Matsu. They take it 1-0 again over the Anchorage Bucs, but that is a game you're going to be looking back on, not just for the rest of the season. If you're Chase Wilcox, you're going to be looking back on that moment for the rest of your career.
Chase Wilcox with the walk-off RBI single, and the Matsu Miners find a way to win in Anchorage in dramatic fashion. Miners win, Miners win, Miners win. What a game from start to finish. And they did it the hard way, Charlie. It wasn't easy. They had to grind it out. They had to find a way at the end. And this team, which had been frustrated by the Bucs all year long, lost the first 4 games against them. Got shut out twice just a week ago in a doubleheader. Now they have come into Mulcahy and won back-to-back games. And you talk about playing with a championship pedigree, this team is starting to show that.
Dylan, it's been a downpour all day. It has been raining on this field ever since the game started. They're probably cold. They're probably shivering. Imagine how that bus ride would have been home from this game if they had not come out with the win. Instead, we have a high watermark for the season. The Miners are back over 500. They're 14-13. They've got 2 straight wins over the Bucs. 2 straight wins on the road, by the way, which I don't think they've done in a while this season. Things are turning around in the Matsu, and they only scored 1 run. They only had 4 hits.
That's all they needed tonight. That's all it took to get the victory. Matsu found a way in the end, and they are going to be celebrating this one for a while to come. What a big win it was over the Anchorage Bucs. What a game. Rally in the Valley, everybody. That's going to do it for tonight. For Charlie Fellows, for our entire incredible staff with the Matsu Miners, I am Dylan Simmons saying